Welcome back to the Football Terrace. Hit the like button. Make sure you're subscribing. It is the international break, but there's still loads to sink our teeth into. I'm joined by Ever on Tuesday by the brilliant Dan Potts, the wonderful LB. How are you both?
Good, man. Good, cheers. I'm hoping there's enough to talk about in the next few days because the international breaks can be very, very strange. And I feel like we've only just got over the Euros, man.
Well, I'll tell you what, mate. The amount your fan base cries about everything, we would have plenty of stuff to talk about. I'll just put it out there straight away, mate. I'm still basically this red card, yeah, is basically like the Newcastle game from last year, wasn't it? You remember when it how long did you go for that? Was that 3 weeks?
Yeah,
4 weeks? You didn't stop moaning about that?
About that, bro. Yeah. It's mad. This will continue for well past the international break. This will now be Chris Kavanagh should never referee Arsenal again. There's a conspiracy. It'll all come out. So I've read it all. I've been baited for it. I've been shouted at for it. I've had my own fans coming for me. Yeah, man. It's been an interesting weekend, Terry.
It is, and we've got loads to talk about. We are going to touch on Arsenal's game. Were they cheated? Were they robbed? Did Declan Rice deserve a red card? Chelsea fans out in their numbers slamming Victor Osimhen. We're going to delve into that, plus their performance at the weekend. We're debating Ten Hag's potential sacking. And we are having a bit of a debate about Mo Salah and could he be or should he be considered the Premier League's GOAT? So hit the like button and make sure you are subscribing. But for a bit of fun to do with Arsenal, I saw this video just before going live and I wanted to play it on here. And then I want to get Potsy's opinion. This has been made by like an Arsenal fan group. I want to get LB's opinion as well. Take a little watch and listen, people.
Declan Rice, holding tight. Gabriel Martinelli, fast and strong. Kai Havertz, leading all along. Bukayo Saka, fearless and bright. Thomas Partey, power and skill. Martin Odegaard, with a creative will. During timber, standing tall. Gabriel Magalhaes is ready for the call. William Saliba, defense on lock. Ben White, steady as a rock. David Raya, guarding the goal. Eddie Nketiah, scoring is his role. Torquillo, wise and calm. Leandro Trossard with the charm. Ricardo Calafiori, a rising flame. Jacob Kiwi, aiming for fame. Alexander Zinchenko, strong and true. Coach Mikel Arteta, we believe in you. Alexander Zinchenko, strong and true. Coach Mikel Arteta, we believe in you. Thomas Partey, power and skill. Martin Odegaard.
We don't have to watch anymore. We ain't going through that again. But I saw that. The funniest bit was Alexander Zinchenko, strong.
Why is it always Arsenal, man? It's always Arsenal.
The way they said Eddie Nketiah, the way they said it was Eddie Nketiah. Yeah, that is embarrassing. Whoever's done that needs shooting. If I'm honest, it's absolutely abysmal. Go back to the nursery playground. Very bizarre, very, very strange. But listen, it doesn't surprise me. I can't say I'm shocked that there's an Arsenal fan that's put that together. Surely it's a joke. I mean, it's absolutely cringeworthy at best. But listen, it's made everyone laugh, which is what we do as a club, it seems.
I was wondering, do you reckon you could that or North London forever at the beginning of games? What do you reckon they'll be for Arsenal? Which one should they stick with?
It's just a madness, and I mean, Arsenal just keep us entertained, mate. You know what I mean? They are a unique football club. You know what I mean? With an interesting set of fans, and you know what I mean? That is just wild. That is just why someone's created that. Why have they done that? It's just insane.
It did make me die. In terms of the weekend for Arsenal, obviously a lot of debate around the red card. Was it deserved, or is there a lack of consistency? Were Arsenal kind of cheated? What was your take? I want to go to LB first on this as a rival looking in. What did you make of the decision within itself?
It's one of them, right? Because at the end of the day, yeah, like, let's just hit the facts first of all. Yeah, the facts is he's kicked the ball away. It's a yellow card. So the decision's right, in my opinion. Yeah. Now you can, if you want, you can start talking about, is it harsh? Could he have had common sense? And that's everyone's got their own opinion on that. You know what I mean? Potsy will have his opinion. Other Arsenal fans have other opinions. I've got my opinions. But the facts are, right, Declan Rice, and I've got to say as well, man, like maybe he's done it because he's not ready. Because I've watched all the Arsenal games this season. I don't think he's been particularly great. And I don't think he was great on Brighton in the Brighton game, even before he got sent off. I don't think he's fit. I don't think he's fully match sharp. He's been disappointing there. You know, he's let his team down. Like in that situation, Arsenal were cruising. I did a watch along for it. In my opinion, there was absolutely no way Arsenal was going to not win that game if 11 men stayed on the pitch. Now, Arsenal fans can do this. We were robbed, blah, blah, blah. The FA hates us, PGMOL, just like they do all the time. You know what I mean? They did it last year with the Newcastle one. But at the end of the day, Declan Rice has let Arsenal down. And very few Arsenal fans are actually calling him out for that. He kicked the ball away. Now, whether or not the guy threw the ball at him, whatever, don't matter. He kicked the ball away. He should have moved out of the way. He's a professional player. He's more than experienced. He knows the game. And the Brighton player has done what he's needed to do to get an advantage. And at the end of the day, no matter what anyone says, if he didn't kick the ball away, he would have stayed on the football pitch. So for me, I think he's let his team down there by doing that. Is it harsh? Whatever, maybe. But the facts are he's kicked the ball away. And like I say, for me, like Arsenal should have been 3 or 4-0 up by half time. You know, poor finishing. Even when it was 1-1, Havertz went through on goal again, should have buried it. Keeper saved it. You know, there were so many more things that if you was an Arsenal fan, you should be looking at. The poor finishing. You know, the defending for the Brighton goal was atrocious. Saliba, I don't know what Saliba's doing. Gabriel could have done better. You know, and then again, Havertz at the end, even when it was 1-1, could have nicked it. So I think Arsenal fans are focusing on the wrong thing. They should be focusing on their own team, holding players accountable. Because at the end of the day, it's not a howler. He kicked the ball away, and that's the yellow card. Am I wrong?
Well, I mean, listen, it happened in front of me. That's where I sit. It was right in front of me. The decision, if he's kicked the ball away, says that he has to get a yellow card. And he's already on a yellow card. So he's got to get a red card, right? Now, you can go in and say that you couldn't look at that being taken as a correct free kick because the ball was moving, which is also a law. So therefore, the free kick shouldn't have been able to be taken. So therefore, Declan Rice is not delaying it. As soon as he touches that ball, he's given the referee a decision to make, as far as I'm concerned. If he just keeps walking and he just carries on, the referee's not going to book him because he's not touched the ball. So I look at Declan Rice there. Declan Rice has actually come out in an interview and he said, yeah, no, I get it. I shouldn't have done it. I gave the referee a decision to make. It was silly of me. It's a yellow card and I've been a silly boy. So as soon as Declan Rice says that, you think, yeah, you can't really say that it wasn't a yellow card, that it wasn't a sending off. Where the outrage is, that I agree with, in terms of the officiating, is the lack of consistency, because we have not seen João Pedro get a yellow card. We've also not seen 5 or 6 individual incidents that have happened in other games this weekend that have not been given. I think Dalot throws the ball forward and delays play. Nothing happens. There's 4 or 5 other incidents that it's absolutely fine to do. But when we've done it, because it's been given a yellow card, the Arsenal fan base or a section of them are saying that it's a conspiracy, whatever. I really do not believe that referees sit in a car park, meet up and go, right, how are we going to screw Arsenal over this weekend, people? What are we going to do? I really don't believe that happens in football. I just don't think it does. Because I look at Bournemouth's incidents in the last couple of weeks and they've had absolute shockers go against them. So are they doing this against Bournemouth now? Are they trying to ruin their season as well, these referees? So there is all teams in the Premier League that are going to get this all season. Absolutely. You'll rant about it, LB. You'll rant about it, Terry. All of the people that come on my channel will rant about it individually for their teams that's gone wrong. So for me, personally, I don't think we can look at that and say, that is the reason that we drew the game. It definitely had made it harder for us to win the game. Of course it did. It was 10-win. It's hard in that time, right? But let's be real. Did the referee stop Martin Ødegaard missing from 5 yards? No. Did the referee stop Bukayo Saka's 2 chances that he should have done better with? No. And did the referee make Havertz miss the chance when we were down to 10 men? No. So I have to look at the situation right now at Arsenal and say that when that window shut and I said that we're a bit short up top still and that we should have got a striker, and people cried and said, stop being so negative and toxic, and started throwing abuse at me all weekend about how toxic and negative I am because I'm saying that we ain't going to be able to have enough to beat Man City. Prove that we have then. get somebody in that team that can put the ball in the back of the net, because it's starting to frustrate the hell out of me. Martin Odegaard, by the way, I like him. He's a fantastic player. He's beautiful to watch. He's a great captain for Arsenal. But my God, how can you blast over from 4 yards in one game against Villa and then a week later tap it at the goalkeeper the next when you're 4 or 5 yards out? You've got to do better. So when the Arsenal fans are crying about it, oh, boo-hoo, the ref hates us, I kind of get frustrated because I'm actually pointing the finger thinking we could have been, 3-0 up in that game quite easily. So if you're 3-0 up and you go down to 10 men, you think, right, crazy decision, but you know what? It's 3-0. Let's just see this out. Because it's 1-1 and we haven't been able to take our chances, all of a sudden the referee's out of order. Now, we were 2-0 up against Wolves and Kai Havertz got throttled on the floor. No one's mentioning it as the Arsenal fan base because we won the game. If that was 0-0, we'd be going mental, saying the referee's a disgrace, this is out of order, he's the reason we didn't win the game. But because we put our chances in that game, no one's talking about it. So I have to be consistent, man. Yes, the referee is not consistent. He's had a shocker. It's poor. But Declan Rice has kicked the ball away and he's come out and said, I shouldn't have done it. It was a red card and that's it.
Good. And by the way, what's he said? Because I've not seen that. What's he said, Declan Rice?
Declan Rice came out in an interview and he said, I gave the referee a decision to make and it was silly of me. And I have to say that I have to hold my hands up and say that it's a sending off.
Congratulations. Well done. Because you need more of that. You need more accountability in football, yeah? And Declan Rice knows he's messed up. Now, all these Arsenal fans can sit there and moan about whatever and pretend like it wasn't a yellow card. But he's come out and said, I've given the referee a decision to make. And that's exactly what he did. So I'd say respect to Declan Rice. He did screw his team up a bit, you know what I mean? And obviously he's now not going to be available for the North London derby. But I think that's the right thing to do. He's owned it. And Arsenal fans just need to own it. And like I say, they need to focus on the other stuff in the game. Because what's a bit disappointing here if you're an Arsenal fan is no one's speaking about how well Arsenal played in that first half. Arsenal played really well in that first half, I thought. You know, the chances that you created, I felt like you limited Brighton pretty well, you know, for them getting forward. And you created a load of chances. At the end of the day, you didn't put the chances in the back of the net. Any decision like that can happen at any time. We know that. And the game's turned on its head. Declan Rice, as he said himself, gave the decision, gave the referee decision to make, and for me, it was the correct call. And we can all moan about inconsistencies, but it's football. There's always going to be inconsistencies. We're never going to get referees making consistent decisions. Never going to happen. So for me, you just take that out of your, out of their control.
There's a comment here as well from Lexis above the super chat from Todd. That just admit you look at things from a negative perspective, Dan. That red card decision was disgraceful. What have I said that's negative about that?
So is he calling Declan Rice a disgrace then? Because Declan Rice is basically not moaning about it. Declan Rice is saying, yeah, like I kick the ball away, I give the referee decision. So is Declan Rice now a disgrace?
I don't get this. Why are we not looking at our lack of finishing as a football club, thinking we should have done better in front of goal? Havertz should have done better. Great goal, by the way. Took his goal fantastically well. Unbelievable first touch. Pace, out-muscled his, did everything right. Finish, he taps it at the keeper. Saka, yeah, he was outstretching, but he should have done better in the first half as well as that chance. And then you've got Martin Odegaard missing from 5 yards. But that's negative. That's just factual. They weren't good enough in front of goal. That's a fact. That's not negative. That's not a negative opinion. That's a factual opinion. I feel like
in this circumstance, it's one of those things where there's more than one correct talking point. So I think it's absolutely fair to look at the missed chances and to look at, I thought it took Arsenal eventually gained, I wouldn't say control, but they settled into playing 10v11. But it took you about 15 minutes. And in that 15 minutes, they equalized. I think there's definitely areas that you can focus on. For me, it's always interesting. I hate it when a decision goes against Arsenal, purely for the reason being that when I call it out, Arsenal terrorists, Arsenal fan. But when I do it for City, like I did last year, when I do it for Liverpool, like I did on a number of occasions, when I do it for Man United, I'm just called outright bias. I call out all these inconsistencies, and it's more the explanation that we hear. Yesterday, we heard Dermot Gallagher say that it was questioned about shouldn't a referee use common sense in that circumstance, because Howard Webber said we need to use common sense. And Gallagher's rationale is, well, common sense is following the rules within a letter of the law. So it's the right decision. In the next clip they reviewed, it was Will Hughes against Chelsea, where he commended the referee for saying, yeah, me and my colleagues used to essentially, someone probably should have got a yellow, but what we say is anything else after that, even if it isn't a yellow card offense, you're gone. And he's like, that's a really good way to referee games. So I'm sitting there listening and thinking,
Yeah.
So 1 minute you're saying a referee used common sense and did the right thing by following the law. The next time you're saying he's done the right thing by not following the law and giving a final warning. I think there are two conversations here. I think we can focus on I don't think it's impossible to create consistency around booking people for delayed restarts. And that goes across the board. How many times a game do the team that's conceded a free kick stand in front of it so it isn't taken quickly? Rarely do you see a booking. Every now and then a goalkeeper is booked for time wasting, but they continue time wasting. They never get sent off. How often do you see a team get a penalty? And whether it's through protesting or standing on the spot, there's a delay. How often are players booked for that? Again, rarely. I think this should be called out without football fans becoming tribalistic and, well, I'm going to defend the referee because it was Arsenal. I'm going to defend the referee because I hate Man City and it's gone against them, as opposed to kind of ring fencing it from the football conversation and talking about the inconsistencies of these referees. There's a reason there's no EPL referees in the Champions League this year, because the standard is awful and
they're trash.
And they are. And the thing is, everybody gets hurt by it. I agree with Potsy, and I say it on every single time I mention poor refereeing. I say this: I never call the team that benefited cheats, because I don't think they're paying the refs. Equally, I don't think there's a conspiracy to damage a particular team. But what you never know ahead of time is how many bad ones in a season you're going to get versus good ones in your favor. And with the level of inconsistency, these referees could decide a title in either which way. You guys are going for a historic 5-peat this year. You could have 5 decisions like this go against you this year that cost you 8 points, say 6 points in total. Imagine then you lose the league by a point and you look back, and I understand you could have finished your chances in the first half, Arsenal, and it's fair criticism. But how many teams are scoring 3, 4, 5 goals in the first half? It's quite rare. 1 or 2 is normally the amount. I think Arsenal would have continued in that vein in the second half. Then this red card happens, which by the letter of the law is a red card, but you won't probably see it happen again. The Low last season, sent off 2 yellow cards for the same series of swearing in dissent against Liverpool away from home. Never happened before that. Didn't happen again after it. And we still see players consistently swearing at referees. So as a United fan, that annoyed me in the moment, because I was like, I know it's a red card by the letter of the law, but no one else is going to suffer with that. And I think we can call both these things out. Personally, viewers, I'd like to know what you think and feel. On Declan... Go on, bro.
Yeah, just one thing to add to this, right? You know how they've come out now and said, well, Howard Webb told all the players 3 weeks ago. You know what I think would be helpful is if they come out and told us, like, whatever they tell the players, come out and tell us as fans. Stream it on X so everybody can see it. Everyone can see exactly what's going on. And say, right, Howard Webb can be there and said, right, I've just told the players, every single player in the Premier League has just been told this. I'm going to tell you as a fan. Because imagine if he would have done that 3 weeks ago, like live on a stream, and every single Arsenal fan would have seen it. And then Declan Rice does that. I think Arsenal fans approach it slightly different, because they were like, well, we just got told that 3 weeks ago. Howard Webb, so did Declan Rice. He's an idiot. And although we're now being told that, oh, well, the players were told this, like, why can't we be told as fans? You know what I mean? Why can't we be told this information as fans? You know what I mean? So, like, that's the only thing I'd add. Is like, why
I agree. But do you know what? I don't do it, in my opinion, because even when it comes to Howard Webb going on Sky 3 or 4 times a year, if you listen to the lack of questioning from Michael Owen, it's horrendous, because he'll contradict himself over the 40 minutes 3 or 4 times and isn't pulled up on it. I think they should give us transparency, but transparency leads to credible criticism. So if they come out and say any delaying of a restart of a game is an instant yellow card, but then you see Declan Rice get sent off, it's there in black and white. When they then don't do it regularly, they are going to get absolutely bombarded and there's nowhere for them to move. The problem is with the PGMOL is everything's about how do we cover our asses from making mistakes. And the maddest bit is that leads to more problems. They've just got it wrong. The people running their organization have got it backwards. We understand they're human beings and they'll make mistakes. But the way you make less mistakes through life is through real feedback, real challenge, really good constructive criticism, and transparency, and admitting. And what would be more refreshing is, do you know what? We have definitely the mistake was made in terms. I'd love to hear how we're going. Do you know what? The mistake isn't the Declan Rice red card. The mistake, which we've fed back to all of our referees this weekend, is they have to give out more yellow cards for these situations. And at least then you're telling us what you're doing about it. It's always like, no, the referee, they always find a reason to praise what the referee did and tell you why it was right. But it then contradicts the next mistake. Like we heard from Dermot Gallagher. No, the most important thing to do is follow the letter of the law every single step of the way. 5 minutes later, it's really important sometimes to manage the game and the scenario and try and keep it 11v11. Well, which fucking is it?
Yeah,
You
by the
can't have
way,
both.
I don't know if you guys agree, and maybe I'm on my own here, yeah? This whole, we can't ruin the spectacle. We have to keep... No.
Fuck off, yeah.
That's not right. Your job as a referee is not to keep 11 players versus 11 players or to ruin the spectacle. Yeah, your job is to referee the game properly in accordance to the rules. So, you know, you don't look at Declan Rice and go, well, he has kicked the ball away. It's yellow card. But if I send him off, then that's going to ruin the spectacle. And I want to keep... No. Your job as a referee is to referee this. So can we stop, please, saying, we don't want to ruin the spectacle? Because it's the players ruining the spectacle by committing the fouls or offences.
LB, we are on the same wavelength 100%, which is exactly why this is why the Declan Rice decision will come back to one, and I'll stand by it, where I think Arsenal, in terms of that decision, were robbed of a better opportunity of winning, because there'll be a game in a few weeks, and it could be the North London derby, and there'll be an opportunity to send a Spurs player off, and it won't happen. And what you'll hear from Gallagher and Howard Webb and all the associations is, yes, but it's a massive occasion. We want the spectacle to be good. We want it to be 11v11. We're trying to keep the game flowing. But what about the spectacle of Arsenal versus Brighton? At the end of the day, you damp that notion of referee games differently based on the occasion. You literally are damaging the integrity of the game. It means that Brighton versus Arsenal is going to be refereed different from Arsenal versus Man City. How the hell is there fairness? And that is a directive. That isn't a subjective, subconscious approach. They are being directed to do this. And the fact and that's why I say I think it's a different conversation from the football. On the football, Declan Rice has received a lot of criticism in the last few days. I know on my channel last night, people were going in on him, saying he's on fraud watch. He's had a really poor start to the season. How have you felt about Declan Rice and Arsenal's kind of start to the season, especially now you're going into the North London derby with no Rice and no Merino? What have you made of your start to the campaign with players like Declan Rice?
Yeah, I think he's been one of the worst players, if I'm honest with you. And he's one of my favourite players. He's on the back of my shirt this year. That's how much I love Declan Rice. And I think he's been a phenomenal signing for us, right? But I will say that I think the first few games have been disappointing. I do prefer him in the 6. I'm not saying he can't play in the 8, but he's definitely a Michael Carrick, not a Steven Gerrard, in my opinion, Declan Rice. He is better in the 6. And I also think with Declan Rice, it just looks like he's not fully fit and fully ready yet. We saw that when he got the yellow. I've seen him take so many of those tackles cleanly over the last season. 12 to 18 months of Declan Rice has been a really good 12 to 18 months. And he's been at his very best. These last 3 games, he hasn't really been. I think he'll get back to it. Let's be real. But I do think he has been quite disappointing. And I don't think we've got enough in midfield. Like I said, Arsenal were 2 players short. And we should have replaced Eddie Nketiah and Emil Smith-Rowe. I'm fine with them both going. I'm fine with Nelson, Vieira, Smith-Rowe and Eddie Nketiah all leaving. But to replace them with Ethan Nwaneri and Sterling, I kind of don't think that was enough. I feel like we were at Eze and a striker away from City fans going, bloody hell, they've done well. They've had a really good window. And I don't think we have. And I think that's proven now when I look at the bench at the weekend, where Trossard and Martinelli are literally the only impact subs at the moment that are coming on. Now, it was a bit different at the weekend because obviously we were trying to defend a 1-1 in the end because we just didn't want to be, losing the game. But there was nothing to bring on attacking-wise anyway other than Martinelli. There was literally nobody else. I've got Ethan Nwaneri, Salah Udine, and Lewis Skelly. So we go into the title race against Manchester City, and we've got those 3 on the bench. Now, yes, Jesus can come back. Sterling can be added to that. And hopefully against Spurs, we'll have them all on the bench, right? But as far as I'm concerned, we are still short going into a season where we have 8 extra games. So that's my thoughts. And I think when you look at what Declan Rice has performed like in the last 3, we haven't been able to kind of drop him because we've got really nobody else other than Jorginho and Partey, double pivot, which is incredibly slow, which is now going to be our midfield against Spurs. So, yeah, we've got cover But is it adequate cover? We'll have to find out. Merino injury's a freak. And I don't know how long he's out for. It says 2 months, but it could even be longer than that. I don't know what we're doing in training.
Fracturing your shoulder. I will put this out there now. Fracturing a shoulder is a nasty injury. It takes a long time to hit, and it's one that where it's unlike your wrist or even your leg. It can be put in cast and you don't move it. Your shoulder is almost impossible to not move.
Not to move. Yeah.
It takes a while to heal.
Well, I spoke to Martin Keown at the weekend actually, because I was doing some stuff with TNT, and he said, "Oh God," he said, "I actually broke mine, and I was out for 4 months. One of the worst injuries I've ever had." So, God, I hope he isn't out for that long. I mean, we actually at the moment are going to have him towards the end of October, and there's some massive fixtures coming up, and I'm talking seriously big fixtures coming up. You know, we've actually got Spurs away, Atalanta away, Man City away, and then at the end of October, November, we've got Newcastle away, Inter Milan away, and Chelsea away. So actually, the fixtures has not been kind to us at all in terms of the Champions League. Now, last season they were really kind to us because every single Champions League game that we had, the following weekend we had at home, which is quite kind to us, right? But it has not been kind whatsoever. And just lastly on this refereeing thing on Declan Rice, I wanted to find this tweet, but I've just found it out now. So from the games after the Arsenal game, Kulusevski, Mark Guehi, Cucurella, Pedro Porro, Dallo all threw the ball away. Joe Linton, Palmer and Bruno Gomares all also threw or kicked the ball away. And those three, Joe Linton, Palmer and Bruno G, were already on a yellow card and nothing happened with any of it. So it's just a lack of consistency throughout that weekend that I think Arsenal fans have got a right to question. I don't think there's a doubt that they can question that. Whether it was the reason Arsenal lost or dropped points, I don't agree with. But I do think that you can actually look at the refereeing decisions and say it was a shambles. But yeah, I'm worried about our squad depth. I can't lie. I am.
I just checked then, yeah. You know, Declan Rice last year played 62 games for club and country. And he looks like he played 62 games for club and country when you see him. And this is why, like, low-key, I'm kind of like buzzing that Rodri got that bit of an injury towards the end of the season because he's not played for City now for 100 days, you know. That's kind of mad. And he's not going to play for City until the Brentford game. So when he comes back, hopefully he'll be like fresh, really had a proper solid rest and he'll be raring to go. You could see against Brighton that he was just knackered. He's probably, is he going to England? Because he could probably do with sitting that out, to be honest.
He will be. They'll be picked as well. Money.
Well, this is the thing. He could probably do with sitting that out because, you know, I watched the game, did a watch along for the Brighton game, and you could just tell that he just wasn't at it, man. Mentally, some of his decision making was put. For me, forget the sending off. I look at the first yellow card, Potsy. He's never winning that ball, and he goes sliding in. And I tell you what, he's lucky that he's not, you know, half a second early. Otherwise, he would have been a straight red. He's no need to go in for that. He was never getting the ball. He was overstretching, and he got booked for that one. That to me is a tired tackle. We've all played football, yeah, no matter the level, and you know that like towards the end of the game when you're stretching and you know what I mean. That's exactly what he was doing. He was doing that in the first half. So for me. It would have been decent for Arsenal, decent for Rice if he could have sat this international break out, but obviously not. And you're going to have to see, I guess maybe if you can get the win against Spurs, then obviously he's going to have a week off there. That's a little bit of a rest. He can come back for the City game and hopefully he'll be a lot fresher and ready to go. But listen, I think
he'll have to play against Atlanta because Thomas Partey won't be able to play all three of them games. And Jorginho's 33 now.
Yeah, but you know what, Potsy? If I was Arteta, I'd have that game off. I'd throw it.
Yeah.
I seriously would throw it. There are 8 games, you have to qualify. You don't need to finish first in the group. You just need to get in the top 8. And then even if you finish between the 8th and the 24th, it's still not the end of the day.
You're going to play a crappier team. I look at the top teams in Europe, and although there's going to be some really good games and there's jeopardy within it, all the top teams, and I'm talking about the top 2 or 3 teams from the top 4 leagues, if they don't get through this league, I mean, they're saying it's a league campaign. It's basically a group stage, a big fucking group. If you don't get out of it, even via the playoffs, your manager needs sacking. Genuinely, you need sacking. You need sacking if you're not getting through it.
Would you not throw it, Terry? Would you not throw it? Right? He's got Spurs without Rice. He's then got an away fit. That's away. He's then got to go to Italy and play against. By the way, Atalanta pressure mad. So that's going to be mad intense. And then he's got City. If you lose that City game, that's not looking good for your league title already. If I was Arteta, I'd throw the Atalanta game and I'd back myself to qualify out the remaining 7 games. And even if I don't, I'll still get in the playoff round.
Rotation is, whether you use the phrase throwing it or rotating, I don't think it matters. He's got to do it. And again, if I speak about Man United in our pomp, the amount of times I've been like, I'm looking forward to tonight. We're at home against, and sometimes I look at the goal scoring record of, say, Wayne Rooney in the Champions League, and it's good. I think that's one of the highest Englishmen of all time. But the amount of times we'd have a Champions League game and we're at home against some minnow and Rooney and the other stars all on the bench. And I'd be sitting there going, this was an opportunity for him to bag 4 or 5 goals. That's because the Premier League was so competitive and so intense. Other leagues have this advantage over us. How many times have you seen PSG, Real Madrid, Barcelona, Bayern Munich almost change an entire starting 11 on a Saturday before a Champions League game on a Tuesday? Happens every single year. None of us can afford to do that in the Premier League when your team's fighting for a title, because our league is different in that way. And and it's just the truth. We all know it happens. We've all seen it happen. It will happen again this year. So he has to learn and has to rotate. And it might mean you'll lose a few games along the way in that Champions League campaign. But as long as you're in the knockout phase, it doesn't really matter. Exactly. And especially as it's new, especially now as it's a new format. No one really knows the formula. Does that make sense? There's almost this element of, we knew before, get to 10 points, win your group, then you get the easier draw in the next round. We don't know the best methodology. You could find the team that wins it is the team that maybe loses 3 of its games in the group stages by rotating, resting, staying fresh. Back end of the season, got more legs. Some teams might this season go into it and go, going to try and win every game, finish near the top, get an easier draw. But by the time you get to February, March, you might be fucked physically. So none of us know the exact right approach for this tournament because it's completely new, So yeah, look, I think Arsenal have definitely got to do something in that space, because I would agree Declan Rice hasn't had a great start to the season. Where I'll defend Declan Rice, though, is from the likes of David, big up yourself, Chelsea fan, Don, the Chelsea fan who was on last night, and others who I always told you weren't very good. Oh, what you're saying that now, his first real downturn in like 5 seasons is not proof that he isn't the player that everybody's made him out to be. All players go through these peaks and troughs. There's only 2 in their careers up until their old age as footballers didn't really have peaks and troughs, and that was Ronaldo and Messi. Every other single player, whether it was Henry, whether it was Gianfranco Zola, whether it was Wayne Rooney, whether it was Aguero, they all had ups and downs. That no one is that consistent all the time. There's always going to be that. But this is where it's about the manager getting it right. Do you play him through the bad period? Do you rest him? The Merino injury is obviously a problem for that, because it means that, plus you have got youngsters, as you mentioned, like the likes of Waneri, because give him a go. In certain games, give him a go, give him an opportunity. Like, we know how talented he is as football fans. Have all seen him play. So yeah, look, I think he needs a bit of help. Declan Rice, he's not in great form, but it's about the manager. You don't want to do what Ten Hag's doing with Rashford. Rashford should not be playing. Whether you like him or dislike him is irrelevant. Shouldn't be playing, but he's getting picked and he's stinking it out. And every time he stinks it out, it gets worse. And the manager's got to get this right for Arsenal. But look, it's going to be a very, very interesting time after the international break to see what Arsenal do, especially with the new Champions League format starting as well. Let's go to some of these super chats here. There's quite a few of them. First one says, so out of curiosity, fans can't have a bit of fun and make whatever they want. If it was something sanctioned by the club, then it would be cringe. Talk about that video at the start.
Fans can do what they want. No, fans can do what they want, Wayne. But also, fans can also mock it and say, you know what I mean, and rip it apart. So, yeah, I mean, both are right. You're right, but we can also sit here and say it's mad embarrassing and rip it apart. That's how the game works, isn't it?
Yeah. Keep the same energy when 115 comes. Rules are rules.
Yeah, what we hear. Sorry, Terry, I'm on holiday.
Can I actually have a question for you, but I'm going to ask you off camera about it, actually, because it's semi-personal, and I don't. Yeah, we'll ask off camera. It's not a bad thing. It's just I want to get. Well, I don't want to ask it on camera, but that will keep the viewers stewing about what it is. Unicorn Arsenal fan speaking logic again. Unicorn Arsenal fan. I don't know what you mean. Why is Dan a unicorn?
I think he said, like, is he saying like Dan's like a rare one, isn't it? Like a rare.
Rare. Right.
Big up,
Yeah,
bro.
that makes sense.
Big up, bro.
Yeah.
I was looking to see if he had a lump on his head. I was confused. Arsenal's record with Kavanagh, 4 wins in 13 games.
It's because he's from Manchester. Because he's from
Manchester. Terry, watch the clip from a different angle. Arsenal put out. You can clearly see he's going for Rice, not the ball. By the way, I do think Veltman kicked the player.
Oh,
I
yeah,
actually did.
Of course he
Yeah.
The thing is, Rice gave him the opportunity to. That's the thing that people are just like completely ignoring that part of it. Of course, we've all played football. Veltman knew what he was doing. He went, bang, see you later. But if Rice didn't get in the way and kick the ball away, he wouldn't have had him to kick.
Well, it was like when, do you remember when Ashley Williams booted the ball at Van Persie's head when he moved to Man United?
He could have killed him.
Nearly killed him.
Yeah, I laugh about
it. Could have been killed,
man.
It could have been killed.
But we all know he booted at him on purpose. We again, if you've played even at Sunday League level, you just know, and he meant it. Manchester-born Kavanagh wanted to send Rice off, is what James says here. I've played the sport for over 35 years of my life, and I was also told to stand over the ball to prevent free kicks. But this is it. Everyone is, and this is why you can't just book one person and not, and even the little flick away. I mean, you could make this argument. Veltman was trying to take the free kick from the wrong position. You've seen that many times where a player will pick it up and throw it back to where it's meant to be. They're not booked because they'll say, ref, the ball's meant to be there. That's the problem with it. That's why I don't believe the whole rules are rules thing. Let me try and explain to you, Dan, why it's negative. Okay. Because every team and every striker misses chances. Haaland, after his hat-trick, missed a very similar chance that Kai did. There are games where awful decisions like this can just hurt you.
So what's negative about what I've said then? That's what I still don't get. I don't quite understand what he's saying is why it's negative. He's gone on to explain to me why what I've said is negative, but he's not explained why it's negative. He's just said strikers miss chances. But that's a fact. What he's just said is confirming there is a fact that strikers miss chances, which is why I said we didn't win the game. So I don't see what's negative about that, mate. But cheers for the super chat, bro.
Webb says referees shouldn't ruin the spectacle of a game by overreacting when Kovacic should have been sent off versus Arsenal last season. What happened?
Did you not win that game?
Yeah, but I actually think that makes more sense to call it out though. And this is what I would.
That one, that's not the same because that's that there. By the way, I'm not necessarily saying Kovacic shouldn't have been sent off. I don't know what I said at the time. I did a watch on. If you want to go see, go see. But the difference is with that one, that's a subjective decision because it was a foul. Do you get me? Not every foul is a yellow card. Everyone agrees with that. No, I think
that one is you're right, LB. That one is a decision the referee has to make whether you believe it's a yellow card or not a yellow card. Whereas the law says that Declan Rice had to get a yellow card. The law doesn't say that Kovacic should have got
for the record,
I think he should have. I think he should have.
Exactly. For the record, I think he probably was lucky. I don't know what I said at the time. I probably was shameless.
Well, I know what you said at the time. No.
I'll tell you what I did. I remember now. I went absolutely sick at Kovacic and told Pep to sub him. That's what I did. I said he was trying to sabotage our game.
He's also back again. Says also to clarify, I agree with your take that Arsenal should have brought a prolific striker, and the TW was the transfer window was underwhelming by what happened in the previous game. Doesn't warrant complaining about that.
Yeah, that sounds very negative to me, bro. You need to stop being toxic. You need to get behind the team and start supporting Arsenal, mate. That's what you need to do.
People can moan all they like, but their own clubs voted against transparency from the refs. Our own clubs aren't even calling for change in Premier League meetings. Well, that's where I agree. I will, if that's true, what you're saying, Dan, then I agree. I'll slam my own club for that because we should be asking for the transparency. The Matchday Guru here says we all know, regardless of what club you support, that these people are unfit to ref the best league in the world. We need competent refs to come in from overseas, but will the FA ever do that?
I agree with this, by the way. I agree with this.
Yeah, I think we should do. I think we should go out and honestly, the Premier League got all this money. I would go out and say, do you know what? Let's go and get the best ref from Spain, the best ref from France, the best ref from this places, all the top ones in the Champions League, and bring them to the Prem. Improve our league further. Why not?
You know what we can do as well? We can get referees that we want in terms of the style, because every referee referees differently. Yeah, so some referees let play go on and always play advantage. Some referees, like a lot of these Spanish referees, they love to stop the play, right? They love to give free kicks, and that's fine. They're entitled to do that. But if you've got a couple Spanish referees that like to play advantage, get them over here. If you want to send them the ones that stop the game or like whatever, it don't have to be that. That's what I think we should do, 100%.
Kaya as a striker, 15 games, 18 GA. If another player puts up those numbers as well as the link-up play, passing brilliantly, would we be talking about a striker?
No, Kai Havertz deserves a lot of credit, actually, because in the back end of last season, at the start of this one, he is scoring goals, right? But that does not mean that we could have not got a clinical striker in the transfer window, or at least try to upgrade or get someone to help up top with the goals when we're not scoring them. And I just think when you look at Haaland and he goes through, you know it's a goal. Could we have not got a Tony, an Osimhen, a Gyökeres that could be either helping Havertz and allowing Havertz to come off from the bench, or coming off from the bench to allow a different dimension should Havertz be there? That was where I was at with it, because I don't see Jesus in front of goal scoring 20 goals a season, unfortunately.
Question for Dan. With Arsenal's solid defence now, would Wenger flourish with this team? Attacking-wise, he's great.
That's a really good question, actually, man.
That's a good question.
Yeah, I think he probably would. I mean, I look at the attack and I think, wow, defensively, Arsene Wenger seemed allergic to signing any of them, if I'm honest. It's really strange with Arsene Wenger because he never really brought his own defence that you looked at and thought, wow. He kind of inherited one to win the first couple of titles from George Graham. And then he kind of bought Tottenham's defender, which we all loved, by the way. And then he tried to do the same thing by buying Chelsea's defender in Gallas. And he's never really, in my opinion, replaced Campbell and Toure. Tried with Koscielny and Mertesacker, but then had some shockers, man. We signed some horrendous centre-halves. We could all begin with S as well, by the way. Their surnames. Senderos.
Senderos. Oh, Senderos.
And Stepanovs and all that. Yeah, it just got worse.
He would flourish with this team, but Wenger would never have bought this team. Wenger would never have agreed to pay the salaries to the likes of Odegaard and Saka what they're on now. Wenger was allergic. That was one of the reasons why he had to go from the club, because the world of football was moving on financially. And I understand his principles, Wenger, but he was like, well, I just don't think we should be paying footballers this much money. But the problem is that only works if everybody else agrees with you and follows suit.
Again, sorry, and you're right. But then in the modern era, now you've got the sporting director. Would he even have a say in any of that stuff?
Very true. Very well. Wenger was from that era of the Fergies and backwards. He was a manager, so he didn't have a sporting director. It was
exactly.
The irony is there are no current head coaches, including Pep, and Pep's admitted it himself, that could manage a football club. I don't think most of the old school managers would be any good at being head coaches in this era because they wouldn't have the power and control that they were also used to. If you took Fergie from his pomp in 1999 and tried to make him manage now, where he's got all these other people that are in control of those aspects of the club, he'd struggle. If you went in a time machine and brought him here now, he'd be like, "What the fuck is this?" Equally,
do you know what was funny?
If you took Jurgen Klopp now and took him back to the 80s and went run a whole club, it'd be fucked.
That's what
different generation.
I remember when they
era.
spoke about it, they said, there's going to be a director of football, Arsene. What do you think of that? And he was like, I don't know what one is, and I really don't want one. How can you be a director of football? What can you direct at football? I do that every day as a manager. And it was just really funny listening to him trying to explain what a sporting director was. He had no idea what it meant and no idea why he needed one. And it's old school, man. They never had one. Fergie and Wenger used to do it all themselves. They never had, someone tell me who to sign, please. And
they managed the football club. They weren't, and it's funny because we're going to get onto the Ten Hag conversation now, because as we know, the briefing came out just before the game against Liverpool where he's being backed, and they've got a long-term plan with him and they like him and have enjoyed working with him so far. And it was like a vote of confidence as an example, which I think whether he won or not at the weekend, you would always expect a football club to talk like that. But obviously the reaction from Ten Hag at the weekend in terms of the way he was talking to the journalists afterwards, the whole thing seemed like he felt very much on edge as an example. You look at his up and coming games. I put them on the screen now. Southampton away, Barnsley at home, which should be a win. Away to Palace is a tough game. Then we start the Europa League. Then we play Tottenham. Then we're away to Porto, away to Villa, and then at home to Brentford. The Brentford game comes after the next international break. But if you look at the 7 games between the international breaks, there's some tough away fixtures, congestion, rotation that's needed. I was pretty happy personally with the start to our season in terms of I saw some positive signs. but we reverted to type. The holes in the midfield were seen glaring at the weekend, and we got teared apart because of it. And the manager has essentially said, no, there's no issues with the system. There was no issues with the tactic. It's just individual mistakes within those tactics. And I think all of us can see, yes, there was mistakes, but those mistakes were punished because of the way the team is set up, because of the space that's afforded to people. And I personally don't believe the full extent of the brief from Man United, that they're 100% behind him for the long term. And I think over these next 7 games, if he doesn't start winning and the team doesn't start performing better, I personally believe he could be very quickly on his way out of Manchester United.
I actually think personally, this new structure that's come in place that we've been bigging up and going, oh, this could work. I think it's been a bit of a letdown so far, if I'm honest with you. I mean, we are talking about now a team that is basically Ten Hag's players that he's even known from his Ajax days, like his old boy De Ligt that he's brought in now, Anthony, Lisandro Martinez, the lists now go on. We've got Joshua Zirkzee, who I think looks... I don't think he looks good enough at all. I mean, Big Steve was calling him Tom Huddleston last night. He looks terrible. I mean, I don't really understand what's going on with this style of play thing. This is mad for me. 3 seasons now. And the reason I'm saying that Ineos and this new structure need to look at it is because they should never have kept him in the first place. I understand that he won the FA Cup. I totally get that. And I appreciate that he's got 2 trophies in 2 years. But the league form suggests that you were never going to improve with him because there's no style of play. And he absolutely is clueless when it comes to tactics or substitutions. So for me, as much as I think that the players you've brought in should definitely be an upgrade on what has happened, I've seen nothing new from what I've seen from Manchester United against Fulham again and against Brighton and now against Liverpool. They got hammered by Liverpool. Brighton beat them, in my opinion, deservedly through bad defending. And against Fulham, they got lucky when Zirkzee come on and hit it on his shin and went in. So for me, I am so disappointed by what I've seen so far. But then I look at it and I think, what are they supposed to do? Like, this is the start of it. This is the first window that they're giving this guy at Ten Hag time and backing now. They kind of deserve it because this guy's not good enough, mate. So that's why I look at it. So I don't know where you're at with it. I personally feel it's poor.
Well, I get what you're saying. When we say you shouldn't have stuck with him, listen, it wasn't my choice. I thought he should have gone, as everybody said. I said I'm going to objectively get behind it, and I still hope that it works. But I went and did a bit of research yesterday just to see. When Chelsea's takeover happened, when City's takeover happened, when Liverpool's FSG takeover happened, they all stuck with their respective manager from periods of between sort of 5 months to just over a year. So it isn't unheard of. In fact, with the top clubs in England, it's pretty consistent that you stick with the current manager for a period of time. There's also a train of thought that there's still a lot of players in the squad that rate the manager, like the manager, got a good relationship. And although you want to see change instantly, you want to get back to the top straight away, life doesn't always work like that. Sometimes you have to give players and or managers a little bit of rope to hang themselves with, metaphorically speaking. Okay, well, you've said that you need a structure. You said that you need help. You said you need less chaos. The manager's admitted that's all there. We now expect you to take our feedback, coach a team, and make it perform. And if he doesn't do that, there is no... And I've seen a lot of people that have been Ten Hag in the whole of last season. He needs a structure, he needs help. Suddenly goes almost to, I'm losing faith. And that's because they've seen in the first 3 games there hasn't been enough improvement. The scary thing is that Slot spoke about the changes. There have been changes in how we play. Slot spoke about them quite, not glowingly, but broke down the differences. And I'm sitting there listening to Slot going, yeah, I noticed that. I noticed this. I noticed that. Problem is, as soon as the pressure got on top, Ten Hag and his team reverted to all the same issues as last year. And for me, that's a managerial problem. I think, hate him or loathe him, Rashford's problem is he's not playing with any confidence. I don't think he likes the system or the tactics, but he's being made to play it. Casemiro shouldn't have done it, but him and his missus have briefed the media and said, we just don't like how we play. We feel exposed. This isn't what I'm particularly good at doing. And I think the team lacks genuine confidence. There's a reason why Maswari has looked like our best player since the start of the season, because he's come in not jaded and worried and concerned by the football club. He's come in good form from Bayern Munich as an example. But eventually he is going to regress if this continues as well, like every other single player. I do agree with you. I saw Zirkzee in the first half against Liverpool, and he does not look ready for Premier League football. Having said that, I quite liked his hold-up play and build-up play in his 2 substitute appearances in the previous 2 games. So it's about getting that balance right. But from my perspective, a few people are saying in the comments, I'm assuming that he might lose his job. I'm giving an opinion. I'm not assuming. I just look at it now. I've got a very different outlook against Man United now compared to all the other years. We have a club structure. We have genuine football decision makers at the club. We're not building the club in the image of a said manager. We're trying to. We want a certain type of player. We want to play a certain type of football. So for me, the manager, if the head coach, the manager, isn't doing a good enough job, you take him out and replace him. It's for me. You've seen Liverpool and Brighton situations were different, but look how well look how well. I forget the new guy at Brighton's name. I always forget it. But look how well they've done, and that is because those clubs have set up structures in a way where no matter how good the head coach is, it's a plug and play system. He's a head coach. He has a say on signings and he gets involved in all that element, but it's your job is to coach the first team and pick it. Your job isn't to run the recruitment, run the scouting, run the academy, negotiate the contracts. The head coaches don't do that. Pep don't do it at City. We've heard him say it in press conferences. He relies on other people to do it. So whether a manager has been highly successful and quits, or whether a manager is sacked for failing, when you have this club structure, you can do what Bayern Munich have done. Start the season poorly, sack a manager, and then suddenly become a great team in that same campaign. So for me, I'm now looking at the board. I'm now looking at the manager and saying, in my view, you've got 3 or 4 more games to stop the holes in the midfield, get us scoring more goals, and to stop these mistakes and make us play more fluently together. Otherwise, you should go, because it shouldn't take you that long, considering you've also been here 2 years. You should be able, if you're doing a good enough job, if the players believe in you, and if you understand the directive you've got from your bosses, you should be able to make us play better and score more goals than we have done in these first 3 games. So for me,
who did you?
Somewhat.
Sorry, Tom. Who did you agree with, Jamie Carragher or Gary Neville? Because I was bang on with Jamie Carragher.
Carragher. No, but bro, just to quickly interrupt you, as a United fan, you can't listen to Neville. Because, and I'm being deadly serious, yeah? You're saying nothing against Gary Neville, but you can't listen to him as a United fan because he's saying it from an emotional sort of position. I also think he might be involved in this regeneration. So he can't.
When you guys say who's right and wrong, what comments are you talking about specifically?
When they said they bottled getting rid of him in the summer, which I think they did, and then Neville said they didn't do that. It's because they couldn't find the one they wanted. So they beat with it. But then it's like, well, you've just admitted that they wanted to sack him. So you're now keeping the manager you were thinking of sacking, bringing in Van Nistelrooy, who we all know is probably going to be the next Man United manager, if not interim for a bit.
I agree. I don't agree with Gary Neville in its entirety, but I'm going to be open-minded about this. There is a train of thought to say the 5 or 6 people we've interviewed, because you got to remember it's who else also who's interested in us. So there was a number of managers that showed no interest in us. So if you interview 5 people that want the job, and at the end of that interview process, you go, fucking hell, they're worse than Ten Hag, I can understand keeping Ten Hag for a period of time, because what is the point of going through the expense of sacking a manager and hiring someone who you think's only as good or worse, as an example? Equally, you've got that element of, well, let's stick with the manager. We think it's going to be best for the squad for the short term. If he does a bad job, we'll quickly bring somebody. And that's what a lot of people think. That was a lot of Man United fans' opinion. So I kind of get Gary Neville to a certain extent, but at the same time, I have to agree with Jamie Carragher, because my belief was, I think the rebuild's quicker by hiring a new manager straight away. And this is the thing. I believe in the rebuild. I believe that Ineos will get us back to a point of challenging. However, what I'm not naive about is they will make mistakes in this. They're going to sign some duds. They may make a managerial. It could, again, we don't know what we don't know until the future comes along. You know, if suddenly Rude takes over next month and we go on to have a barnstorming season, next year we challenge, a year after we win the league, maybe that little small transitional period of doing it slowly will make sense to us when we look back, right? It might come out in stories. But the only mistake I really do think Ineos have made so far, and I thought it was a mistake at the time, and with the way we performed against Liverpool, I've just given me this horrible gut feeling that sticking with the manager is not going to work out as I thought it would. However, you can rectify that in the next 4 or 5 games. If we don't improve, I don't think it matters. I don't think you can be delusional enough to think it will be okay in 3 months. I understand Arteta started slowly and it took him time to get his team playing, but a very, very, very different scenario. That was a fledgling manager in his first job, not somebody a decade into their career who's already been at your club a couple of years. And where people get confused by what I say is that a rebuild is 4 games old, including the Community Shield. But the judgment of Ten Hag isn't, because we've seen a lot of him already. The same as I'll give a lot of our new signings a couple of years at the club. Barada standard is out, and I think it's cool. You give people a bit of time to settle. I'm not giving Rashford that long to get back to his best, because I've seen enough of him already. And the problem is with a lot of Man United fans, and I think there are Man United fans collectively, we're a big problem towards our club. And I say we because I'm not ring fencing myself. I've seen people bringing up Ollie's clips recently. We should have stuck with him. He knew what he was doing. Ragnick, some people defending the Glazers. Oh, I can't believe the Glazers bought us in Ineos. They're no different. They've kept Ten Hag. That means we're never going to get better. The stuff we're talking about is crazy. You've got people like, it's unbelievable. So Jim told us this was 3 to 4 years to get us back anywhere near the top teams in the world. What we're going through, I hoped it wouldn't happen, but there was always the possibility that it could. But I'd much rather it happen now. And you get rid of him, you bring somebody else in, rather than you start well for 3 or 4 months, then it collapses. Then it goes away. So I think Man United fans have just got to be honest, right? We have a structure in place now where we can take a manager out and bring somebody new in, and the rebuild continues. It's like with Chelsea. Chelsea are not at the beginning of a new rebuild. This is the beginning of their 3rd season of the rebuild. It's just a new manager. They're keeping the same profile of player. They're trying to do the same thing. They just brought in a new head coach. That's not another rebuild. And I think that Man United fans have got to wake up and smell that coffee. This isn't that we're not going to sack him and start again. Oh no, the new manager's going to want to get rid of all the new players that were signed. Yeah, it's crazy.
Because over the last decade, that's what's happened. You've had one manager who plays one way, and then you sack him and get a new manager who plays a completely different way. So you're doing rebuilds every time. When Pep Guardiola leaves his football club, you think we're going to get a Mourinho style manager? No, we'll get a manager who plays a similar style to Pep Guardiola. So you don't need to rebuild. Might be a transition year, whatever, but it's not a full rebuild. And it's the same with Arne Slot at Liverpool. The facts are, this manager at Man United is absolutely terrible. No matter, I don't care about the fact he's won 2 trophies. Yeah, congratulations, you've done very well with it. You are not a good manager. He's just not. Now, he needs to go. He should have been fired after the FA Cup win. Yeah, that's what he should have done. And this thing about, we can't find a better manager, that's nonsense. You're not telling me that in the whole world, you can't find a manager that's better than Ten Hag, because he's not even got a proper style. You know what I mean? You still, the way that you play football matches is like basketball games. Honestly, it's great to watch. So entertaining. End to end to end. It's not how you win league titles. He should have been fired after the FA Cup game. You could have done it in a nice way. You could have thanked him for winning the FA Cup and just said, we just want to go in a different direction. You don't have to throw him under the bus. It would have got a nice payoff as well. And then you can bring in a manager who can implement the style and then crack on. And as you say, it's not a rebuild. I'm telling you now, this manager will be fired. He will be fired this season. There is not a chance, mate. You've lost 2 games out of 3 matches. In the whole of last season, we lost 2 games in 38. 3 games in 38 games. Yeah, we lost. You've lost 2 in 3. He will be fired. It's a matter of time.
It's a matter of when he gets sacked, not if.
Yeah, 100%, man. Yeah.
No, I agree. And look, listen, I'm gutted.
And it's all good.
Well, that's also another point. Part of me almost wants to see what we do after that. My feeling is we'll go to Ruud. My gut feeling is we'll go to Ruud van Nistelrooy. And then maybe this whole keeping the manager, bringing in Ruud. A lot of United fans sort of smelt that straight away. It was like, why are we bringing in 2 current managers to be our assistants?
Yeah,
because that doesn't happen very often. And maybe maybe we do have. Do you know one of the biggest mistakes Man United made through not having people running the football club right is that we never timed Fergie's exit nor Pep leaving Bayern Munich correctly. Man United absolutely should have looked at Fergie leaving. I know Fergie wanted to retire, but we should have timed it and done it in a way where we got Pep as our next manager. Even though he wanted a year out after there was like a gap where he wasn't managing, we should have been like, you know what? Let's not give David Moyes a 7-year fucking contract. Let's give it to Giggsy to the end of the season. Like, let's do something transitional, but know that Pep's coming in a year's time. That is how an elite football club. I actually wanted Jurgen Klopp back in that stage. It could have been him as well, but we tried that and messed it up. We just never done things the right way. So, look, I've got faith in what Barada and co are doing. And yes, Boston, I know that Barada has publicly backed him, and that is the element that I like. I wouldn't like to see the board come out today. Exactly. Exactly.
Barada's not going to come out. And by the way, this is all nonsense anyway, bro. Because they were going to sack him at the end of the season.
No, exactly. I'm not. That's why I'm not married to any of it, right? I would like the fact they're being nice, but whether they say, because they basically said we want to create a really consistent team. And I like what Barada said as well. We don't want to be a team that wins the league one year and then falls away again. We want to be consistently up there. We want to set high standards. We want to perform to a certain level. He said we really back the manager. He's really capable, but we have to get to this standard. So read between the lines. He's basically saying we're sticking with the manager right now. But if he doesn't make us think we can get to that standard, he's going to go. But there's a nice way of saying it, and there's a horrible way of saying it. And maybe it's people's life experience, where people have worked, the jobs they've had, but that's called being tactful. And I get that in the YouTube space, there's a lot of people that just think, nah, just say things bluntly and horribly. But that don't work in the real world. That damages you in the real world. It isn't YouTube where you're looking for attention. You're actually looking to be seen in a positive light. But look, I actually think by the next international break, if the results and the performances don't get better, I think he'll be gone. I don't think they'll give him that long whatsoever. A lot of people, journalists that I spoke to privately when they gave him the new deal, said if things aren't looking much better by September time, he could be off. My only fear is that Southgate becomes a manager, and I hope that doesn't happen, because that will certainly be peak for us. But viewers, give us your thoughts, give us your feelings. Ten Hag persisting with Rashford will get him sacked.
He's terrible, by the way. I've told people about Rashford. He is awful, man.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I think
terrible,
he needs to leave for his own sake, mate. He needs to get out. He needs to get out of United, where all the limelight's on him. Yeah, and go to a different club. Maybe get out of this league. Yeah, so the English media is not on him, and just play football, because his confidence is shot. Yeah, he don't take no one on. When he does, his control's poor. I don't know what he's meant to be doing. I think he needs to just leave. Probably leave the country and go to a different league. Like I said the same thing, by the way, about Calvin Phillips. Not I'm comparing the qualities. Calvin Phillips, instead of going to West Ham, yeah, where everyone was watching him every week, he should have gone to another league, another country. Just get out there, you know what I mean? Play a bit of football. Like, no one, let's be honest, yeah, no one's talking about Tammy Abraham or Tomori, because, like, yes, you know, they're English players, but no one's watching that league, so no one's talking about them. He should go away for a year or so, play his football, and when his confidence is done, maybe make a return to the Prem. But he's not going to work at United now. It's over.
No, listen, I said in the summer, and again, things always get misconstrued. I said I would sell him, not because I don't rate him. I don't think he's a bad football player overall. I think mentally he is shot to pieces. Some of that's on him, some of it's on the club, some of it's on the manager. No doubt about it whatsoever. But a change is as good as a rest, and I think he does need to go. And again, that could end up being a mistake we've made this summer. Maybe we should have cashed in on him, spent that money on somebody else. If he has an awful season, then again, you're going to get even less money for him next year. But that's what I mean. Not every decision is going to go the way we want, because it doesn't for any football club. I did have someone tweet me as well earlier on when I mentioned that, because I've said on a few streams that, you know, our board of directors should be telling our manager how to play. And I got this, Pep would never be told how to play. And it did make me laugh, because I thought, well, that's because Pep's successful, you moron. If Pep was struggling and his team was getting ripped apart every week and he was sitting in 14th in the league, I guarantee you City's hierarchy would be having a word. Like, why are you playing like this? It's crazy.
Also, that's not how it works. The board should only hire a manager that they know plays football in the way that they want them to play. So you don't have to have that conversation, because you know when you've hired the manager, you've got his body of work at what he's done at other clubs. You say, right, well, we hired this manager. This is the style he's going to play, and that's the style that we want. That's what I'm saying before. City would not now appoint Mourinho as the manager of this club, would they?
No.
Because he plays a completely different style. We'd go and get someone that plays the Pep way.
No, I completely and utterly agree with you. Why do you keep saying third season? Unless I'm mistaken, is this the third season of Clearlake and Todd Bowley at Chelsea?
Oh, Chelsea, I thought it was about tonight.
So surely they're going into... Clearlake
this is the third, yeah.
Yeah, it's going into the third. So when you say a third season, definitely the third season. Definitely their third season. Without a shadow of a doubt, it's their third season.
Yeah,
I don't know why that's...
now. Yeah, Ruska.
Yeah, it is their third season. On Chelsea, quite a lot of their fans today giving out a bit, slagging off Osimhen, saying that he's a bum, saying he's a loser, saying he's money hungry now that he's gone to Galatasaray. Do you guys agree with Chelsea fans that he was wrong for turning them down? Or do you believe that their offer they made to Osimhen, and we're hearing now that they made him an offer that, including bonuses and incentives if they got into the Champions League, would only have equated to £150,000 a week in salary. Do you think Chelsea have messed up here by not offering him a better contract and bringing him in? Or do you agree with the Chelsea fans that they've basically dodged a bullet for a mercenary here?
I don't. I think they've made a big mistake. I think if they would have got Osimhen, I think they could have got top 4. No Osimhen, no top 4. Because they'll miss too many chances, mate. You know what I mean? I was told this to Don. You know what I mean? Against City, they had chances, didn't take them. Against Palace, they had chances, didn't take them. Why? Because their forward players are inconsistent at getting the goals. And that's going to cost them over a 38-game season. I'm pretty confident if they would have signed Osimhen, they would have got top 4. And now I don't think they will. I don't think they'll get top 4. You know, there's already 2 games of evidence, the Palace game and the City game, where they might have got something out of the game if they had a decent striker. No decent striker, they lose one, they draw the other. Yeah, and at the end of the day, they can slag Osimhen all they want. It's irrelevant, mate. He's not at your club now, and you don't have a proper striker that can put the ball in the back of the net. He was there, available.
Why are they slagging him off? I don't understand why they're slagging him off. I don't get it.
I don't know. I don't know why they're doing that.
What's he done wrong? I don't get it. What, he didn't accept a low wage, so he went and got more money at Galatasaray playing the Champions League. Is that what it is? I don't really get this. Is this like
entitlement is what it is.
It might be the Europa League. I don't know. But either way, like they're not in the Conference League. I don't think, like Chelsea. So maybe he's looked at that and thought, actually, I want to go and play Champions League football. I want to be playing European football, not at that level. Listen, Chelsea should have got him. Done all they can to get him, because Jackson's an absolute mess in front of goal, as we saw against Palace and all the other games.
I'll read you one of the comments here from David, who's a Chelsea fan. So the news came out today that agreement now reached for a new release clause with Osimhen at Napoli ahead of Galatasaray. So his new release clause is now at 75 million euros. So it's now being reduced. He's done he obviously signed the deal as well. And these are the kind of comments I'm seeing from Chelsea fans. This is dreadful. Greed is a deadly sin. Ain't no one laying down that kind of money for him. He should basically, it's then alluding to, he should be paid less. Chelsea were right to avoid him. Do you think this is Chelsea fans putting out a bit of copium?
Chelsea know all about greed. Let me tell you that. Chelsea slagging someone off about greed.
That's bitterness.
I'm just reading out the comments.
No, it's bitter. They're salty, mate, because they didn't get him and now they're slagging him off. Yeah. And at the end of the day, if your club would have actually signed him, yeah, then you would be chill. Let's just speak about this. Yeah. You spent £1.5 billion, yeah, and you still don't have a decent striker and you still don't have a decent goalkeeper. Now, whether this new keeper turns out to be all right, Jorgensen, whatever, Don keeps on going about, I don't know. But he was there, available, and it could transform your season. You know what I mean? We all see the top teams when they got top strikers, what that can do for you. Yeah, and Osimhen, I just think if they would have got him, I think top 4 would have been theirs. But now I just don't think it is, because they'll drop too many points. They beat Palace at the weekend if they had Osimhen. They might have got a draw against City if they had Osimhen. They got 1 point out of a potential 6. That will keep on happening because the players that they have are inconsistent in front of goal. And, you know, for the Chelsea fans now just to be slagging Osimhen off when he's perfectly entitled to reject the offer. You can't force him to join, lads. You can't kidnap him. You know what I mean? Like, at the end of the day, if he wants to reject it because you've not offered him what he wants, there you go. There's other strikers out there that he could have got as well. You didn't. So, listen, for me, I find it wild that Chelsea fans can even say anything about it.
I thought they were going to get Tony or Osimhen. I really did. I thought they were going to get one. And I was stunned that Arsenal didn't get a striker. I was even more stunned that Chelsea didn't, because Chelsea have literally got Jackson and that's it. Like, they've got nothing, have they, up top? They have to play Nkunku there or Palmer there or somebody like that, if not, I think. So for me, I was stunned they didn't do that. And I think without a goalkeeper and a striker, you can't really, in my opinion, achieve your goal of that season. And whether you're trying to stay up from relegation, whether you're trying to win a title, whether you're trying to sneak into the top 4, top 6, I think you have to have a goalkeeper and a striker that you trust. And Sanchez isn't good enough, and Jackson isn't good enough in front of goal. Yeah, he scores goals, he creates, absolutely, but he doesn't score enough for me in front of goal. I think that he is very wasteful. So I look at Chelsea and I think, look, LB's right in terms of they could actually go for top 4 with Osimhen. But I don't know if they're better than Villa or Liverpool. So which one of those two is dropping out? Like, do you know what I mean? Like, where are they getting in there? I don't even know they would with Osimhen.
I'll put Chelsea in 5th at the moment. If I'm based on what I've seen so far, I redid my predictions yesterday, and I put Chelsea in 5th place. In fairness, I put Spurs in 8th and Man United in 9th based on what we've seen so far. But and by the way, yes, I'm very, very, very aware that January exists. And you could go in and get him. What's really crazy, he's going to be getting paid £160,000 a week base. at Galatasaray. So it shows that he was willing to not. He weren't asking for extortionate money. But the most I've read one thing from Damasio that the original offer was £65,000 a week, rising to potentially 130,000 a week if he scores a certain amount of goals and they make the Champions League. And I just sit there and think to myself, I just find that, and I understand they went to Napoli and they offered more and more, but the most, Fabrizio Romano has now said the most it went up to, including bonuses, was 150 a week. And I just think this is one thing that Chelsea fans, I think, need to push back on as fans, is we understand having a wage structure when you're buying an 18, 19, 20. I get it for Palmer when he comes in because he was still relatively untested, young, up-and-coming talent. Osimhen is not that. If you were signing João Felix 3 years ago, before he dropped off, you weren't getting him on 150 a week. If you signed Sancho from Dortmund, you weren't getting him on 150 a week. The problem that Chelsea may have is that some of these young players are going to become stars. Kyle Palmer had done it. A lot of them are not. There comes a point where you're going to need to buy some top-class players. And it could be, you've made top four. And maybe they'll increase it once they're back in the Champions League. So that it could all become, this conversation could become immaterial in that way. But I just look at it and think, Osimhen, offering 150, 160 base, rising to 200 if you score all these goals and make the Champions League. If he started, he wouldn't have been able to have started the game because, but if he would have started that game, he scores one of those two chances at the end that Jackson has. He scores one of those two chances, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's
they
what
win
I'm saying.
They win the game, and that is probably going to happen. What happened to Chelsea on Sunday, in my opinion, will happen 5 to 10 more times in the league this year, which is why I think they'll just missed out. I think defensively they're getting better with their main players. As soon as they take Fofana and Colwell out, they look more vulnerable. We saw that against Servette. But when their main 11 plays, they're getting stronger defensively. They play nice approach football. Mm-hmm. And look, you've seen it with the numbers back the eye test on this. They have overperformed their XG by a country mile because of that performance against Wolves. And Madueke, he got his hat-trick. You got to congratulate him. But 2 of his goals were big deflections as well. And that's not taking anything away from him. But it's going, well, in the other 2 games, you've massively underperformed your XG. That has to be a consideration for you as a football club. That has to be.
How much is that worth to Chelsea then? Because you're saying what I'm saying, right? I don't think they'll finish 5th. I think they might finish 6th, yeah? But you're saying essentially the same as me. You don't think they're getting top 4 because they've not got a striker. So how much extra wages is it worth to pay Osimhen to say we've got a real chance there? Not 60K.
If we look at it, it would have cost. So what he would have accepted, according to the media reports, he needed 80K more a year as a base. That's £4.1 million a year more he needed in base, and he would have signed for Chelsea. That's the difference between potentially getting Champions League football or not, which is worth what, 100 to 150 million pound a year in income.
So now they've got Jackson up front again.
If you turn around to me, LB, and I can't afford to pay those kind of wages. Let's scale it down to our level. Say like, listen, Terry, I guarantee you something, right? I can almost guarantee that if you pay me an extra £400 a month, right? I'm going to throw these numbers out there, but I guarantee you it will bring you in an extra 100 million views, right? Or whatever. I'm going, well, it's worth the money, isn't it? This is why I think it's a bad business decision from Chelsea. They may address it in January, but they might just miss out. They may just miss out because they haven't quite brought that killer in up front. And look, we could all be wrong in the end and go, do you know what? Fair play, Chelsea. But I don't know if we are. I just don't know if we are.
If the players score the goals, right? Because they've got good players. It's just the finishing. If they do well, like they did against Wolves, for example, or they get a bit lucky or whatever, or the players just find some hot patch of form, then they could be all right. But, these players that they have are inconsistent in front of goal. That's the problem.
No, I hear you on that. I hear you on that. Someone here says, you guys should talk about our Arsenal friend in the Champions League. We already spoke about that an hour ago, bruv. Go back. Rewind. We've been live a while. Runin here says, based on his last season, he wasn't worth crushing the wage structure over. But no one's talking about crushing the wage structure. What we now know is that he wasn't demanding 350, 400 grand a week. What we now know, based on the number of reports from the likes of Damasio, from Fabrizio Romano, is a 150 to 160 base would have got him for. I don't think that's breaking your wage structure. That would, what you offered him, just say you offered him 130 as a base. That's about what you're paying Tosin, who doesn't start for you. So yeah, I do agree with you. Maybe it would have been a risk to go, there's 400 grand a week, bro. There's 400 grand a week.
I didn't want that.
But yeah, so I get where you're coming from, but and you said here, he said no, and that's fine. I love that we have stuck to their guns, wait for the right fit. Let me ask you a question then, Runin. What if you don't make the Champions League this year, partly because you didn't score enough goals? What would you reflect? Would you change your view, or is it all about sticking by the guns and not giving any player at your club more than £150,000 a week, circa 150 a week, maybe a little more, maybe a little less? Is that sustainable long term? And what happens when you do get back in the Champions League and Palmer's suddenly on 250, 300 a week, but then you want to sign another top player across Europe? Do you think that he'll have to come in on 150, or are they going to have to come in on big money like before? Like, how do you think it will work in your personal opinion? That's why Terry should apply context to our rebuild. I do apply context to your rebuild. I think in year one, your owners got it horrendously wrong. I think that you made improvements last year, and I think you're in a better space than you were now. I think each year so far you've got better. The context is that a lot of rebuilds make mistakes in the beginning. You look at FSG. Well, FSG weren't pulling up trees with Dalglish. They nearly won a trophy under Brendan Rodgers. It took them the better part of, I'm not going to say a decade. I think it took them somewhere in the region of about 6 or 7 years until Jurgen Klopp started challenging for major trophies to get it right. But that's when the rebuild begun. So I'm just pointing that out. Like for me, at Man United, I'm not going to restart the clock for Ineos every time we bring a new manager in, because that's letting them off. Because the modern day world, the clubs shouldn't be run by managers; they're run by the club. So I'm judging it by you can't judge it based on history. When Fergie got hired by Man United, he was then running the club. He was rebuilding the whole club. So you start the clock from when he came in, right? Rebuilding the whole thing. That's why when I hear people say, Jurgen Klopp, he won trophies at Liverpool before Fergie won trophies at Man United. But you're taking out the fact that Fergie did all those earlier years. Like, Klopp would not have been winning if he inherited the Roy Hodgson squad. It was a building process to that stage. I still can't fathom why football fans don't understand how modern day football works.
Yeah,
Pep is not doing what he's done in the last 8 years. If he joined Man City in the summer of 2009, in the same time period from 2009 to 2016, he wouldn't have achieved what he'd done because City were building their infrastructure. That is when City's rebuild begun. Rebuilds don't begin with managers per se. They begin with the people running the football club, in my view.
Terry, right, there's a comment here, 4:55 p.m. from Dean. Chelsea are paying Sancho 200 grand a week for a player they don't need. How much are they paying Sancho?
They're paying the majority of his wage. It's 80 to 90%. So yes, about 200k a week they're paying him. That's right.
So they're paying. So this is where it all just doesn't make sense, boys, isn't it? Because you don't need Sancho. You got plenty of attackers. You got plenty of wingers. You're paying him 200 grand a week, and then a striker who you do actually need doesn't even want 200 grand a week. Apparently, he said 160, and now everyone's saying no, we were right not to offer him that because we didn't want to break our wage structure. This is where the whole thing just doesn't make sense to me.
Nah, it don't. Maybe Osimhen didn't want to sign 20 years at Chelsea like top once.
But have you guys seen? I mean, all of our clubs do bad PR. I haven't watched Ugarte's interview today because I know what he said without watching it. Dream club, over the moon, amazing, historic. The chills on the back of my neck. I'm not saying he's wrong about all of it, but every player says the same thing. Have you seen what Sancho said? It's amazing. Sancho has said that Enzo Maresca really drew me to the project. I knew him from my time with Pep at Manchester City. But Sancho left Man City in 2017. Maresca didn't join until 2020.
That's embarrassing, man.
It's crazy. The PR is a madness, in my opinion.
That's embarrassing, man. Cringy.
And I do agree with you. I was happy with the Sancho deal. I was not happy he went Chelsea. I would have preferred him to gone abroad, but they're saving with what they're paying us for him in fees and what they're saving on salaries. We had a £30 million black hole with him because he wasn't going to play. We're now making 20 million on top of that, 25 million on top. So that's a decent deal from that perspective.
Someone in the comments just made a great point. Chelsea are paying us to play Sterling.
Yes, they are. So Chelsea are paying Sterling still. So basically, when you look at the maths of it, Sterling, they've saved 125,000. They've saved £100,000 a week on Sterling, but you then look at what they're then paying Sancho. If you look at the two transactions, they're now paying more than when they just had Sterling.
And they
It's
still not got a
crazy.
striker.
And
Still
they
not
don't
got a
Still not
striker.
got a centre forward. It's crazy. But
That
they know
is
what they're
true.
doing. They run really well. Everyone knows Chelsea are back and all this crap. It's just a madness. They don't know what they're doing, these people, man. Honestly, it's mental. Absolutely mental.
This comment here, I like this one. It says, look at the squad Klopp inherited. Oh, no, I agree. It needed to be improved, and he did improve it. And that's why it took him 2 or 3 years until he started competing for trophies. But the squad he inherited was still exponentially better than Roy Hodgson's squad. Who was that bald guy who used to play at left back for him?
Paul Konchesky.
Yeah, exactly. Like, this is the point I'm making. It's a process. And the only time I consider, the only time now in the modern day game where I really go on that, it really is a rebuild, is if multiple. So if Pep left and the Sporting, I don't know the names of all your people, but I was, is it Khaldoon?
Khaldoon, yeah.
If Khaldoon left, Pep left, who's the other guy? Is it Tiki Taka? What's his name?
Tiki, yeah.
Tiki. If they all left and head of recruitment left and 2 of their scouts left and the manager left and they had to hire all those new people, I think then you could look at it and say it is a pretty much a rebuild, because you've got to like rebuild every facet of the club. As an example, if you also had a squad that was aging and you needed 7-8 new players, you could go to a real rebuild. But a manager leaving, and it's like with when Klopp's left, they've got Edward running the club still, who all Liverpool fans admit when he stopped running the club and he left, the sporting director, that's when they dipped. That's when they stopped winning as much and they weren't happy with their signings and it weren't going as well. He's back running it. I'm not surprised Liverpool started the season so well either. Like, and I'm not saying they've got enough to win the league, but Slot's just slotted right in, isn't he? He's doing really well. They're playing good football. Sancho getting a wage cut from next year. Well, he's going to get a wage cut next year when he joins you full time. That's fair. But right now, and we're just talking about right now.
At the end of the day, that might be true, DJ, yeah, but it still doesn't change the fact that you've not got a striker.
In fairness, they are saving £325,000 a week because Lukaku left. That's true. That's all in their back pocket, to be fair. That's
still no striker. I just don't get it, man. I really just don't understand it. Because you know what it is, yeah? I get Chelsea fans like in my DMs, oh, why you hate Chelsea so much, LB? And I'm like, I literally don't hate any other club apart from Man United, yeah? I don't care. My thing is about, I prefer, yeah? My thing about Chelsea is, I actually think Chelsea could have done all right this year if they would have signed a striker. I think they should have signed a goalkeeper as well, yeah? But if they would have signed Osimhen, I'm putting him on my top 4 boys. And for me, it's just such a glaring position that you need. I see you signing players like Sancho, who I don't think you really needed, and over someone like an Osimhen, who's on similar money. It just doesn't make any sense. But hey, what do I know?
He wanted the same deal Elise got. That's not significantly breaking the wage structure. And yes, I'm good with Nico. Oh, Nico Jackson. I thought about Williams for a second there. Thank you, bro. DJ here says, could smell this Chelsea talk a mile away. Terry to generalize all Chelsea fans to rile up Hots and LB. But I'm just giving you specific. Hang on, but I'm not, though. I gave you the name of the individual that's doing it. I didn't say, look at all these Chelsea fans are writing, but I just said Chelsea fans. And again, when I say Chelsea fans, some Chelsea fans are going mad. Like, take it what it is. I named David and whatever else. And I was intrigued by why they suddenly hate. Like 3 days ago, it was bring me Osimhen. Now it's like he's a greedy mercenary bastard. I was just wondering what the boys thought the change was there. I've always maintained Osimhen is massively overrated for the transfer fee and wages. I wish Chelsea wasted money again. Nigerian Lukaku.
Didn't they get him on loan though? So there was no transfer fee.
I mean, I think Chelsea were trying to buy him.
Yeah, but why couldn't Chelsea have loaned him if Galatasaray loaned him?
It's a fair point. Jackson did better than Man United and Arsenal strikers. I mean, look, but that isn't the argument, is it? That isn't Matt. That isn't what. I haven't sat here and gone. I mean, I wouldn't swap Jackson for Rasmus Højlund, but I haven't sat here and gone, oh, look how good my strikers are doing. Look how crap yours are. Then your argument would stand up. score enough goals to get you back into the Champions League, you're making number 9. It's not me defending my striker. And as I say that,
So your Wi-Fi is mad,
Bro,
bro.
bro's Wi-Fi's moving like Jackson's finishing, bro.
Inconsistent.
I'm back.
Inconsistent. He's back.
I'm back. So yeah. I mean, yeah. As I'm saying, I didn't say I wasn't comparing players. I'm talking about Jackson in isolation. Him being better than Rasmus. Let's just all agree that he is irrelevant. Doesn't make his finishing improve because he's better than Rasmus. So yeah, it's not something I was talking about. A new manager in Slot simply explained Hagi Potter's tactics live on TV better than Ten Hag himself. Might be more embarrassing than the 7-0.
That's
that
class,
is embarrassing, to be fair. That is embarrassing.
Maybe he's looking for Ron Weasley and Hermione.
Hagi Potter.
Hagi Potter. That's class. Hagi Potter.
This here says frustrating, having a lot to say, but limited by super chats. LB is being self-righteous, and Dan is overcompensating to appear a unicorn Arsenal fan. Was never a red, retired ref analyzed it.
Well, the thing is, though, you can't say it was never a red, bro. You can't say that. You can say, I don't think it was a red. But when the rule explicitly states, delaying the restart of a game is a yellow card, I don't know how you can say it was never a red and then start having a pop, man. You can say that you don't think it's a red. You can say you think it was harsh, whatever, no problem. But you can't start having a pop and say it was never a red. You know what I mean? I used to be a referee. I was qualified. I'm saying it was the right decision. What are you gonna do?
You're a referee.
I was a fully qualified referee. Fully qualified. So what? My opinion not valid, but a retired referee's is.
So you have the same qualifications as the Premier League referees.
I am fully qualified referee.
Didn't know that.
I could have gone on and done like county football and that, but actually I got a job in it. I had to work weekends.
I got a job.
My opinion ain't valid, but a retired refs is. At the end of the day, the rule book literally says if you stop the restart of the game, it's a booking. You can't say that. You can listen. I've got no problem with anyone saying, "Oh yeah, but he threw the ball at him. He didn't take it from the spot." But like at the end of the day, yeah, he did kick the ball away. That's a yellow.
There we go. I get you're tired of the conversation, but we can't ignore Jeremy's super chats. That would be very, very disrespectful to ignore them. One question I did want to ask you all. Mo Salah had another great game at the weekend. Could he be considered the Premier League GOAT when he retires and when he moves on? He's about to overtake. By the end of this season, he's probably going to overtake the numbers in less games than Thierry Henry. He's won Premier Leagues, Champions League. He's won every single trophy. He's been Liverpool's greatest Premier League player. Is he in the conversation at the very least to become a GOAT of the Premier League?
No,
and if I was going to ask you this question as well, based on their Premier League primes, who's better, Gareth Bale, Mo Salah, or Eden Hazard?
He's nowhere near the GOAT status for me. Because, he's an elite level player. And I tell you something, yeah, my appreciation for Mohamed Salah's gone. It keeps on rising and rising, yeah, because these constant numbers that he's putting out there year after year after year are ridiculous. But for me, yeah, he just doesn't come into the same conversation. Yeah, I think Thierry Henry, maybe despite playing in the league for less time, is a better player. Yeah. You've got strikers like Shearer, who've got the record. That for me is insane. And I just don't think he gets in that conversation. He's an elite level player, he's a world-class player, and he's a legend of the Premier League, but he is not the GOAT of the Premier League. And in fact, I think there's quite a lot of players that are above him in terms of the GOAT status. I think there's quite a lot at United. I think as well, because you got to look at the amount of players at United when you just farmed Premier Leagues, gigs, because when you talk about GOAT status, you just talk about who's the better player. Because if you talk about who's the better player,
no. So yeah, to premise it for you. So when I speak of legendary status, GOAT status, it's quality of the player, consistency, longevity, trophies. And I think you have to consider numbers. You have to consider all of those things. And again, I probably wouldn't put him as the GOAT. What I'm saying is I think he's in the GOAT conversation. But like Thierry Henry's obviously there, Ryan Giggs, Paul Scholes, all these players have got to be there. I think Aguero, David Silva, I think KDB's in the conversation now, in my view. there's loads. Obviously, I think you've got the Chelsea players that you put towards that. I think Frank Lampard's in the conversation as an example. But I think Mo Salah's in and around it. I think he just has to be. He's so good, so consistent.
He might be in and around it, but he's, Thierry Henry is a better player than him. There's no debate about that. Thierry Henry is a better player than Mohamed Salah.
If you're looking at a Premier League 11, I think he's got a great shout at getting in it. I really do. If you look at the all-time list of wingers, I think Premier League, whether you believe Hazard was a better footballer or not, I think the Premier League, for 7 years, this guy's got 30 goals and assists now. You can definitely put him up there in the category of Ronaldo and Giggs, in my opinion, in terms of if you was picking your combined 11 of all time. I think he deserves a great shout. I actually think he's incredibly disrespected. I really do. I look at him at 32 now, and although people say that Hazard was a hell of a lot better, Hazard went to Real Madrid at 29, didn't he? And he's done nothing for 4 years. And he's 33 years old or whatever he is now. Salah's 32. And he's still one of the best players in the Premier League. I think it's incredibly disrespectful for people that just go, oh, he's nowhere near that level. He's nowhere near GOAT level. I think he is. I think he's one of the best in the Premier League now. I look at him in Liverpool's history. There's only really Dalglish and Gerrard that you look at being close to him now. Like, Salah is ridiculous, man. He's won everything there is to win in football.
I think he's in the GOAT conversation, as I say, but Liverpool fans don't really. Liverpool probably got the best PR in the world. I think Liverpool fans could convince the media to convince the wider footballing world that he's the GOAT. They've just got to do one thing.
Yeah.
And that's drop Gerrard as their greatest ever Premier League player.
Facts. And he is. And that's true, Terry, because I think Salah is a better player for Liverpool.
And if you forget our opinions and forget what everybody says on Twitter, when it comes to the general consensus of football fans, what the mainstream media said still holds a lot of weight. Because as much as it's great that I don't know how many individual people around the world watch football content online. Let's just say 25 million people watch it in totality across all the different channels, right? That's a fraction of people that actually watch football still. Does that make sense? It's not like otherwise everyone's videos would be getting billions of, Goldbridge would be getting billions of views. Sky Sports would be getting billions of views, but not. Everyone gets, 10, 20,000 on the smaller channels like ours. You get like the big YouTubers where they're getting sort of the 100, 120,000. And then you get like Sky Sports when Gary and Jamie go at each other, gets half a million to 1 million views, right? I still think if Liverpool started pushing it as a football club to the media, when you've got Match of the Day would go for it, the BBC would go for it, ITV, they'd all start pushing it. It doesn't take long. Because the one thing I'd say that Henry has that goes in his favour is that the media never let anybody debate it. I've watched so many podcasts from the mainstream media, so many shows when they talk about the GOAT, and you just get, well, could anybody else be it rather than Henry? No. They don't debate it. I think Liverpool could force the media into putting Salah into that category. So it doesn't mean I agree with it, but I would almost want to see it happen because I want to see the debates, including Henry, because he was amazing, Henry, and I got so much respect and time and admiration for him as a player. But I don't like the idea of someone being the GOAT and no one can ever fucking challenge it. It annoys me.
But 100% though, that you're right, Terry, because I agree. I think Salah has a better Premier League legacy than Steven Gerrard. But that's a difficult one for Liverpool fans to accept because they, a lot of them say he's the best player that's ever played for the club. But I'm saying, I think Salah's got a better legacy. I think he has got a better legacy. He's won a Premier League for a start, which Gerrard didn't do. And the numbers that he's putting out are absolutely insane. And this is why, by the way, that I think whoever's running the football club at Liverpool are absolute idiots for not offering this guy a new contract, yeah? Because that's what Salah said the other day. I cannot believe that's true. Because I'm telling you, yeah, Salah's going to keep putting these numbers out for at least 2 to 3 more years. And I'll tell you as well, from my own club's experience, we didn't give Gundogan the contract that he wanted. We messed around, we delayed, then we only gave him a 1 year when he wanted 3 years. And it was a huge mistake. One of the biggest mistakes we've made in terms of transfers and contracts. And look, we ended up getting him back. Liverpool are making a big mistake if they're not offering this guy a new deal. He'll come to Liverpool and say, I want 3 years. Yeah. And they'll go, no, we're only giving you a year. We're only giving him 2 years because they look at his age. Nah, they're making a mistake, man. They should give him the 3-year contract. 100%. 100%.
Massively. Yeah, facts.
No, I agree. In terms of the other question, where do you rank?
I need you to word this very specifically, Terry. Yeah.
I'm talking about their time in England.
Okay.
We're not going to do legacy. we're not going to do legacy now because legacy is a bit of a cop out on this one. Okay. This one, in their prime in the Premier League.
Yeah.
Of these 3, you've got a chance to sign any one of these 3. Which one are you signing? in their prime, based on their Premier League.
Gareth Bale in their prime. Oh, I don't know. That's just so tough on that one. For me, I'll be honest with you. If you're talking like prime, I'm taking Bale and Hazard above Salah. I can't lie. But like, it depends, man. No, it's tricky. I don't know because Salah is definitely the least technical player out of those three players. Yeah, and he's the least player. Out of the three, is the player that I would least like to watch. But he gets me 30 goals a season guaranteed. Do the other two do that guaranteed? No. So, but I don't know, man. That's a grim question. I can't lie.
I still don't get the question. I'm sorry. Who's better out of these three, or who am I?
The question is right. So we're not talking about legacy here. We're not talking about legacy because legacy in the Prem is only going to go to Mo. It's only going to go to Mo Salah, right?
Yeah.
But I'm asking you. You're the manager of a club. All three have been offered to you. All three are in the peak of their Premier League form. Which of the three do you sign?
Probably Hazard. Oh, I don't know. Hazard, maybe.
For me, it's Bale or Hazard, and now I'm starting to think maybe Hazard because
I think Hazard. If I'm honest,
I don't know.
I mean, listen, I think if you look at what they've done in the Premier League, then Salah leaves the other two dead in the water, in my opinion, because what Salah's done consistently for 7 years, the other two haven't, right? But they both went to Real Madrid and they had different careers. Salah's decided to stay there. I think Bale was incredible, but I do think Hazard was all round better. So I would go with Hazard. Oh, it's so hard though, man. It's very, very difficult.
Do you know what? Listen, I think all three in their pomp were amazing. But the reason I'd go for Salah is based on what you just said, though, Dan, is that what Salah has done in these last 7 years is amazing.
Yeah.
When you look at Gareth Bale is 35. I know he's only just retired, but from 2019 until now, he was sitting on benches. He came back to the Prem for Tottenham looking old. His body was shattered. So from the age of 30, his body was done. Hazard, retired already. Him and Mo are pretty much the same age. Mo is still going. So again, we're basing our decision on what we know, right? So based on what we know, I'm signing Salah in his pomp because I know he's going to maintain it. Whether the other two, I think at their peak, I would say both Hazard and Gareth Bale are better. I've always been intrigued by the peak versus overall debate because I would rather, again, Gareth Bale at his peak compared to his fellow Welshman, Ryan Giggs, was better at his peak. But if I could sign them both now at 18 years of age, I'm taking Ryan Giggs. I get 20 years of top class consistency. Yeah. So for me, having an 8 out of 10 season, pretty much barring 1 year where it was awful Giggs, 8 out of 10 seasons and a few really big peaks over 20 years is better than a player that really and truly had 6-7 years at the peak of his career. So I would go with Mo Salah based on
that for me is the question there though. You're right. For me, Terry, you're answering a different question because if you're asking me about, because obviously yes, you're right, but obviously you're talking about peak in Bale's peak year. Obviously, how old was it? Like 24. Like no one knew that he was going to fall off at that time. If you're talking about longevity, who's had the best career? Salah wins that without any shadow of a doubt.
Absolutely.
I do hear you. And I think it's I just can't get it out my head. So I look at all their peaks. All their peaks are very high. But the reason that I side with Salah is I know that at 32 years of age, he's still going to be in great shape. His availability is as good as his ability. The guy don't get injured. He doesn't miss games. He consistently produces. Where the other two, I mean, Hazard will be bottom of the three for me. With Gareth Bale in his peak years, again, available quite a lot. Didn't really, from when he started to perform until he fell off, he was just always good, weren't he? For Spurs, for Real Madrid. With Hazard, Hazard had those years where he kind of fell off a little bit.
If they were all like 19 years old and you know what you know now, you're picking Salah all day long. 100%. Going to Salah and saying he's got like over 10 years now that he's going to be fit, putting those numbers out. If you say who was the best who was the best player, that's different. If you said who was the best in their prime, that's different. And if you said who deserves to be in the Premier League, Premier League winger, then that's different as well. So
I hear you. Because at their peak, at all of their optimum best, I would say Eden Hazard. When they were all at their scintillating best, I would say Eden Hazard. But you don't pick up again. Everything we're debating here is based on hindsight. And we know what we know. And I would never pick a player based on where it's like this. If someone said to me now, who would you pick to be, if someone said to you now, would you take R9 at 19 years of age or would you take Cristiano Ronaldo at 19 years of age? I think you'd be, and their careers will be, they'll deliver, they'll be the same players. You're not picking R9 over Cristiano because you know that the injuries happen, the fitness problems. You know Ronaldo is going on to his late 30s. You're going to get a player that delivers. Now, I know that R9 at his peak was better than Cristiano Ronaldo's peak as an overarching football player. But you know what you know. And I would always pick Cristiano Ronaldo because that man, again, 20 years at the top of the game. Terry asked Terry where was Salah at 19 to 25, but that's irrelevant. The question was who are you buying at their peak until for the rest of their career. So what they were doing at 19 is irrelevant. Equally, I would still pick Mohamed Salah now. Salah
I've got the stats to be fair here, Terry. How old is he now?
Mohamed Salah only really had a bad period when he left Basel and joined Chelsea. He was good at Basel. That's why they bought him. He left Chelsea and was good again. He had a bad 18 months at Chelsea. That's it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Back in like 2015, he hit 14 goals, 6 assists for Roma in the Serie A. I don't know. That was back in 2015. So that, you know, that's not a bit 19. It's a bit older than that. But the guy was still slamming it. He got six goals in 900 minutes for Fiorentina back in 2014. You know, at Basel, by the way, I remember when he was at Basel. And I think they played against Chelsea. And that's when Mourinho said sign him. Yeah.
No, I agree. I agree. And listen, I know Hazard was really good. Again, I'm not slagging him off. But I'm just saying now, and I'm going back to Dan's point, if they're all 19 years old and we know what we know now, of course you're picking Mohamed Salah.
I'm picking Salah if you're asking me to pick at 19. If you're asking me who was the best at the peak, for me, it was either Hazard or Bale.
I agree with that. But when you're signing someone, you're not signing them for a season. You're signing them, hopefully, for many years to come.
And if you're saying which of them deserves to be in the Premier League conversation, I do think Salah is the one ahead of the other two now. I really do.
I don't think the other two enter the conversation.
I think Salah and Eden Hazard sit on the bench for wide players behind Giggs and Cristiano Ronaldo. That's my view. So they sit on the bench behind as the backups because you don't get in over Giggs because of what Giggs has done. And Ronaldo, like we're talking first time round, this guy was a Ballon d'Or winner in England. You know what I'm saying? Which is ridiculous when you actually think about it. But there's an argument there. Equally, it depends what formation you play. If you play 4-4-2, then I'm picking Beckham. If I'm playing 4-3-3, I'm not picking Beckham because he can't. No way Beckham could play as an inside forward, not with his pace. Terry, what about Prime Mahrez? What about him?
Prime Mahrez is one of the most underrated players this country's ever seen.
Ridiculous, man.
1-2-3 Viva Algeria. I tell you this now, if Salah wasn't in this league, more people would. And also, my own club is responsible because my club is stacked of players and Liverpool wasn't. Mahrez had to be rotated more. He was rotated with Bernardo Silva, for example. Yeah, he was rotated with other players on the wing. So my club
ridiculous, man.
Contributed to this. But that's it, man.
Don here says Hazard was barely injured at Chelsea. He was here for nearly a decade. That's when he went. Then he went to Madrid and started trying in training, his own words, and when he started getting injured. I mean, yeah.
For me, I agree, Don. For me, like I said, in terms of prime player, I'd take him and Hazard is miles clear of Salah when it comes to like technical ability. I don't even think Liverpool fans would disagree with that. But Salah's goals, I mean, like you're pretty much good with Salah in it for what, like 22 league goals a season? Is that fair? That's pretty mad. If you can bank on 22 league goals a season, that's pretty insane.
One thing I looked at when I was looking at it, like I listen. I said already, if it's about who was the best individual player at their peak in terms of overarching quality, I would pick Hazard. The one I enjoy watching the most was Gareth Bale because I like really fast direct players in the way he was a good dribbler, but it was very much I'm going to knock it past you and run. I quite like. There's something about that I like. But when it comes to efficiency is so important. The last time I looked and run the numbers, I'd have to go back and look at it again. I think Eden Hazard produced or scored a goal in 55 to 60% of his games, which is fucking good. Mohamed Salah for Liverpool is in the high 80s. So you're just talking about somebody who is 30 to 40% more efficient. And when it comes to winning football matches, and I will say this now, I understand people love entertainment. There's certain players I watch and go, oh, wow, I love watching them play. But again, the question is who you're buying. And if I'm buying a player for my team, I'm always going to pick efficiency and consistency and availability over what I find entertaining. So again, that's why I think you have to be able to kind of nuance these conversations, because someone can be, listen, KJ, who obviously helps me run the channel, he's massively entertained by St. Maximin. But why wouldn't buy him for that reason? Do you know what I mean? Like, he's exciting, he's great to watch, but no, it's a really good debate. And it's international.
Hazard's only got 30 GA once in his for Chelsea. Salah's been doing it for 7 years consistently. That is ridiculous. It's crazy, isn't it?
That's what I mean. That's what I mean. And it's and look, I do get the arguments that if Hazard maybe had some better players around him and better strikers, he would have done more. But the problem with that is hypothetical, and there is still no cast iron proof. We can only judge on what we actually know. I think. Otherwise, we could just. Well, what if Salah was crossing the ball in the last 2 years to players that weren't Darwin Núñez? He could have had even more. Like you can almost do that for you. Also, that logic also means you can take away from players. So you can turn around and go, yeah, but would John Terry have been the best centre back if he didn't have the Balaks and the Claude Makelele's and co in front of him? You can. The problem with that logic, you can take away from legends as well. You know, so I think you need to be very mindful when you throw that logic out in those arguments. Super chats here. First one says Hazard was good from 18. Salah was good from 25. Is that true? Chelsea signed him younger than that, didn't they?
Nah, Hazard definitely had a better hype when he was younger, man. Let's be honest. Yeah. But that doesn't really mean anything, though, I don't think.
No, I don't know what that means. Yeah.
Maybe he's just pointing it out because that is probably truer, but it don't mean anything really.
He didn't throw the ball. Back to the Rice conversation.
Wow, man.
I'm coming back to that later. Giggs over Salah. United fans underrate him. So I don't underrate him so much. Forget about trophies. Even with 0 trophies, Giggs was magical, similar to Scholes. Look, one thing about Ryan Giggs. Listen, for a left-sided midfielder, he actually had good numbers. People start comparing them to inside forwards with different position. The kids don't get it. You're 30 yards deeper. Like left and right wingers used to get similar numbers of central midfielders because they had the same starting position. They were just out wide. But the reason why I think so underrated, forget the trophies, which you shouldn't, but do it for a minute. This man at 34 became a central midfielder and was very good at it until he was 40 in the Premier League. How many other current inside forwards in the world, and you could use Bale and Hazard and Mo Salah, how many could become central midfielders and win Premier Leagues in central midfield in the EPL?
Yeah, facts. Well, one thing I would say is that was a different era. He played left mid. That position has now been retired in football.
Do you think as well, and some people will say I'm saying this to defend Man United and Arsenal players. I'm not. I think when it comes to picking Premier League all-time 11s, I think we have to it's been going on so long now, the Prem. I think we need to segregate it into eras because formations have changed, positions have changed.
You can
even goalkeepers. Goalkeepers don't do the same job now. Well, they do different job now in terms of people would say Alisson or Edison because of how they use their feet. But goalies literally weren't trained to play like that 30 years ago. So
100% because the football changes. Like I say, Giggs's position doesn't exist anymore. How many teams play with a left midfielder? Not left winger, which is a completely different position. Left mid.
But what's even funnier is when you will say, and I've done these before, you'll say, right, what's your Premier League 11? You go through, you go, who are you putting up? What front two are you putting up front? Oh, no, we're only putting one. We play 4-3-3. Oh, what happened when we used to play 4-4-2 years ago then? Do you know what I mean? Or Thierry Henry's on the left so we can fit somebody through the middle. He doesn't play on the left. He plays up front. It's a madness. People just need to go with, like, you need to do 2 areas. You're right.
For me, Potsy, that's why I think that Thierry Henry's got one of the best claims of being the GOAT because he stands the test of time, bro. He will get in any team, right? In 50 years' time, when football's evolved again, and we go, remember when we used to play with left wingers and right wingers? Henry will always be able to get into a formation because he's so versatile as well.
I think that's also partly, though, to do with certain positions. Like centre-backs will never be retired. Central midfielders, strikers. They're not going to... It's only, again, what you might find in another 20 years' time in football is left midfielders and right midfielders are back. And the inside forward is gone. We just don't know as of right now. It's almost like when I look at Trent Alexander-Arnold. See, for me, if Trent was 30 years older, he wouldn't have been a right back. He'd have been a right midfield player. He'd have played right midfield for Liverpool. He wouldn't have played right back. It was a different role, but as you say, the world changes. This year says, how is John Barnes not rated over Gerrard? Ask Liverpool fans, bruv. Like, you have to ask Liverpool fans that question. KDB is the only GOAT currently playing in the Prem.
KDB is 100% up there.
I already have him as in the top 3 central midfielders in Premier League history. He's right up there. Well above Gerrard. Well above Gerrard. Terry, let me up. A restart didn't even exist because Veltman had already committed.
Oh my God.
Oh, rest, man. Rest,
They're still
bro.
going. Giggs benefits from playing for United. Well, I'm going to take what I said away from. I'm going to take away what I just said about KDB then, because they're one of the greatest English teams of all time. So KDB is not that good either. And this is what's funny. City fans with the current team you've got will start defending Man United legends in the future because the same logic of, well, Giggs weren't that good. He had great players around him. They'll start saying it about your team. And suddenly your mindset changes. But no, Giggs was one of those great players. That is why they were so good. In the conversation, yes, not quite the GOAT yet. I hear you there, bro. I think it's very, very fair. Change the options of did you hit the like button to include yes, but F Potts and LB. That's nice. You rattled a few boys.
Big up.
Oh, here we go. The ball was actually still moving. Play can't be restarted whilst the ball is moving.
Oh,
therefore,
days.
it wasn't a delay of the restart.
No, because I tell you why this is wrong, bro. Because he couldn't kick the ball, for a free kick, because Declan Rice had kicked the ball away. That's why that's an irrelevant point. If Declan Rice didn't kick the ball away, and then the guy kicks the ball when the ball's rolling, then the referee brings it back because he's kicked the ball because it was rolling. But he couldn't kick the ball because Declan Rice had kicked it away, bro. It's irrelevant, man.
LB, you're giving him attention, man. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't leave it. Just leave it.
Josh here says he didn't throw the ball at Rice. He kicked a non-rolling ball from the place where the foul occurred. Therefore, by the letter of the law, the free kick has already been taken, even if it hasn't been called. Oh, he already took it when it hit Rice. Rice put it out for a throw-in. You're bang on. Rice put it out for a throw-in. Has that yellow card? I love it. This here says that you're saying Jackson's shit. No one's used those words. And Osimhen didn't want straight loan when Chelsea were after him. He also just sacked his agent for not getting him a move. Oh, I get why he's sacking his agent. I would agree with him. I'd sack my agent as well if he messed me up like that. 100%. My agent would be getting properly sacked. He never kicked the ball. He never kicked a ball in the Premier League. I don't know what you're talking about there. I don't know what that means.
Who's that about?
Please let us know.
That's about.
Salah isn't even the best left-footed player in the last 15 years, let alone the Premier League GOAT. David Silva played golf. Also, Scholes and KDB both in the GOAT combo. But I think all 4 of them are in it. They're for different reasons, but they're all in it. And that's why it's becoming harder and harder. Because when the Premier League was newer, 10 years, 20 years old, it was easier. But as we go towards 40 years, 50 years, 60 years, it just becomes harder and harder and harder to do. So I think we're going to get into an era point of view soon. Arteta to City after Pep.
If he wins something, yeah. If he doesn't win anything, no.
This year's the Potsy. It says the owners are comfortable, Dan. We finished 3rd now.
Yeah, I think the owners have got a lot to talk about this summer and the board, because I know they've backed Mikel Arteta for the past 5 years. This summer, he has not been, in my opinion. I think they needed to go across the line. For me, I think if we do not have a good season, I will be actually coming for the ownership and the board more than I will the manager, because I do not think that we have done enough this window to compete with Manchester City. So therefore, I don't expect us to win the league.
Do you think it's the board, or do you think Arteta's happy with the team? Or do you think it might be a bit of a mix?
Well, I think it could be a mix, because there's a lot of people believe that Arteta doesn't want a striker. But then why did he say he wanted Sesko then? I don't get it. Like, people.
Did he actually say that he wanted Sesko?
That's the you never know, LB, but the rumours were that Arteta selected Sesko this summer that he wanted. Sesko decided to stay at Leipzig. So if he didn't want a striker, why did he go there go with those links? We were linked with Ivan Toney. I know for a fact in January we offered him a contract. And the Osimhen thing, I don't know how true that was. Isak, we're apparently a massive fan of, and they're saying that we want to go all out for him next season. So I think he does want a striker. I don't know. Maybe he doesn't. Maybe, who knows? We're all guessing, aren't we? We don't know this. But for me, I think the board and the ownership, for me, I don't think they have said, that they have backed this window to the degree where I look at it and go, I think we're ready now to get across the line at Man City. So look, we'll see, won't we? We'll have to see. At the end of the season. Somebody just made me laugh in the chat though and said, Jesse Pinkman, you're a rubbish referee, and I've never seen that with LB. But now just like Jesse.
I don't know why. Yeah, people always just like,
yo, bitch.
I think I've got the face of people just saying that. People say it all the time. Literally, my mate, that's before we're 20 minutes ago. My mate just sent me a picture of some English cricketer and says, "Tell me this isn't you." So I don't know why.
Who's the English cricketer?
Who is it?
Yeah, I'll send it in the chat. Yeah, go to your straight facts chat.
Let me have a look. Let me have a little look.
There you go. Him.
Hide my phone.
Let me have a look. I don't know cricket, so
No, not do I.
I don't know him either. This guy in this picture looks like he dyes his beard though. You don't look like you dye your beard.
You got sunglasses on, man. How can I see?
No, I can see it. I can see it.
Yeah,
I can see it. I can see it. I can see it.
Yeah, watch this.
Oh yeah. There you go. Yeah,
yeah, I see it. Turn your head to the side a little bit. Turn it to the side a little bit.
That way, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No.
Yeah.
That's it. That's it. I can see it. I can see it.
Yeah.
I can see it.
Yeah.
Hassan here says Arsenal needed a striker more than Chelsea because they're competing for the Premier League. You can't separate Nico and Kai. And something had a better team and system around them. They need the striker way more than Chelsea. I think most Arsenal fans agreed they needed a striker. To be fair, again, I don't think us sitting here and saying Chelsea needed a striker is circumventing what people think Arsenal needed. But when we're specifically talking about Chelsea, you can't defend Chelsea by saying, yeah, but so did Arsenal. That doesn't help Chelsea in the conversation, in my humble opinion. Look, I want to thank everyone that's tuned.
Havertz or Jackson? Real talk though, real question. Would you rather have Havertz over Nico Jackson?
I'd take Havertz slightly.
Yeah,
but I wouldn't get rid of Rasmus for either of them, to be honest. I mean it. Put Rasmus in a good system. Trust me, the player there. Look, I want to thank you all for tuning in. All the super chatters, you've been amazing. Potsy, LB, always a pleasure, boys, to sit and speak football with you. Until next time, everyone, take care. Goodbye. God bless. And we'll see you all again very, very soon. Peace.